I got called to be 18th man on that Monday. Just running out and warming up in front of the crowd, and that it was like the best feeling ever. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I think just at that point, like, I don't think my confidence could have got any higher. I think that's to take bone out of my heel, put it into the middle of my foot where the joint was, put a plate on top, and then they fused my foot together. So that was another 8 months.
Well, welcome to the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV with myself, Mick, the game caller, Gledhill, Joe, me, the money, Harrison, little Joe, me to me and you. We've got the king, Craig, Show Me the Money, Harrison, and of course we're joined by Jimmy Mack once again. Well, what an exciting week of Rugby League we've got ahead of us. We've got the England All-Stars game at Warrington on Saturday, and we've had a wonderful weekend of Rugby League across the Super League, the Championship, and League One, none more so than the game last night between the Leigh Centurions and Featherstone Rovers. Before we start focusing on what's happened this weekend and what might happen at Warrington on Saturday evening, we just want to say a big thank you to everybody who submitted their England squad nominations, including the wildcards, and after careful deliberation, took me about 20 minutes to go through, we can announce that the person who has won the signed England shirt, kindly supplied by Shane and Oxon, thank you very much, is Dan. So it was a Twitter entry, and it was Dan at the Stone 5, and he pretty much had a vast majority of the players that we had, with Wellesby, Makinson, Newman, Handley, Lomax, Walmsley, Aledzki, Bateman, Whitehead, Knowles, Thompson, Burgess, Mary Lees. So, yeah, big massive round of applause to At the Stone 5. So, Dan, we know you're a subscriber, so we're not going to contact you because you watch the show. You're going to contact us, so send a message to either the Twitter account, Show Me the Money, the full 80, or get in touch with Craig personally, and we will sort out that signed England shirt. So that's
don't do the
well, if it messages your Twitter account, Craig.
I haven't got one, Joe.
Well, Joe, you're going to get involved with it. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone's England nominations. We'll go through the England All-Stars game a little bit later on, because obviously the squads have come out, and I was on the press call yesterday with Ellery, and 16, 17 players, I think he said, had dropped out. But look, let's just quickly focus on what's happened this weekend. We will start with the Super League. Okay, Friday night, I was at Huddersfield versus Leeds. Very impressed with Huddersfield. 25 minutes in, 22 points to 0. They did take the foot off the gas a little bit. What I will say, and I spoke to you at Sheffield on Sunday about this, Jimmy, and I did agree with what you said. Obviously, Leeds now, they're evolving as a side. Clear to see it, playing that gay abandon, let's just throw it around with no structure. As we saw against Warrington, it clicked, it worked. They had a fantastic 40 points to 4 win. Against Huddersfield, the ball's going on the floor, Chris McCrean's picking it up and going 80 metres, and, I felt it was almost kamikaze, suicidal rugby league. Leeds their own worst enemy. It's obviously going to get time for Owen to put his stamp of approval on the way Leeds structure and how it's all going to come about. But Huddersfield, very impressed. And I know we talked last week, Craig, about Oliver Wilson and Manny English and everybody else, But listen, Oliver Wilson, I watched him with great interest on Friday night. If I want to take Luke Thompson out of our team and I want to put Ollie Wilson there, I don't know how many metres he did, but listen, that guy is a wrecking ball. He was making 15 metres on each carry. 3-4 Leeds players taking him out of that defensive line, and that was really giving Huddersfield the advantage. But, we've had a couple of questions from fans asking, are Huddersfield the real deal? Well, we've said since the show come back that they are the real deal. They're in the top 4. They're not there on merit. And quite rightly, they're tucked in there behind St Helens along with Catalans, Wigan, and obviously Huddersfield. And, come playoff time, you won't want to be facing the Huddersfield Giants. But yeah, that's the game I was at. I thought Leeds were very flat, a little bit wasteful. Rowan will not be happy with the completion rate. He said in the post-match press conference afterwards, I think it was just below 70% for the overall of the game. I counted him at 9-10 errors. You do that in a Super League game, you're simply going to get punished, and Leeds were punished. Yes, there was a bit of a spirited comeback But, this sort of like Leeds season, and I think we both agree, Jimmy, it's work in progress. It's a transitional year. They're not going to make the playoffs now. It's all about building for next year.
Yeah. I don't think this is the long-term plan to just keep throwing it around. I think this is his way of making a big change from what they were doing and trying to get a bit of confidence back in players and take the reins off, and then probably rein them back in a little bit to the structure he wants them to play. I think all the lads say that they're starting to really understand how he wants to play it, but he's given him this license to chuck it around and again, it's just to get them enjoying it a bit more and not feel so constrained and take a bit of the pressure off. And like I say, that will work one week and it won't work the next week, and it certainly won't work against a team as well organised and relentless as Huddersfield.
Joe, your thoughts? I don't know if you've seen the game or your thoughts on...
I've seen the highlights. Yeah, I wasn't there at the game this week, but I think it happens, doesn't it? I don't think it's a new style of play. They've not played like that ever. It's like when other sports introduce new styles of play, it'll be up and down for a while. I think they've got to. Rowan will have to bring in his players and bring the players he wants, and obviously let some go, sadly. And I think there'll be a balance there where they get it right for next year, and they'll have a nice mix of players who can play that expansive rugby like a lot of the NRL teams play side to side, and they throw it around. The modern day, they do throw it around a bit, and I think if Rowan gets his men in there that understand the style, some newer school players, I think it could go very well for him. But at the moment, with his current crop of players, it will be probably up and down until it clicks.
Craig?
Same as that. Listen, it's got no cap space, so I don't know how he's going to change things.
Oh,
there's hardly any cap space left. So bringing in new players, he needs to bring new players in, because he can't be blamed for having Richard's squad.
Correct.
And he can't be blamed for having previous coaches' squad who have been signed previous. He can't be blamed for not picking the academy players he thinks should be in his team. He's got to put his stamp on it. So it's going to be a tough gig for Owen, because I don't think the cap space is enormous for them to, unless they play a trade, which we've been saying for a lot of times, that's probably the best option, is to offer us for so many players up who Rowan don't fancy. Be honest with them. People say, what's it like to feel if you're a player and somebody says they don't want you? It's all right, it's only one person's opinion. So it's one person's opinion telling you that you're not right for him because you don't play their system. So my advice to Rowan and to Leigh would be, let Rowan pick the 4 or 5 he don't want, get him off that cap as quick as they can, and then do some business himself so he can put his own stamp on it.
The other big result of the weekend in the Super League was Wakefield defeating Warrington. The clip of Lewis Murphy's tackle.
Oh, well, there, yeah.
Craig, wow. We spoke about Lewis Murphy enough on this show, a real superstar in waiting. Obviously for Warrington now, a couple of the questions that have come in from the fans, I'll try and link the two together, are Warrington in a relegation battle? They are in freefall. I think we agreed last week, no. I said it depended on what happened between Toulouse and Castleford, because if Toulouse do get that third win and then you're talking 2 games, 4 points, it probably does get squeaky bum time. The fact that Castleford have gone over to Toulouse, apparently the conditions were 34 degrees. I listened to Lee Radford's interview at the end. It was very complimentary on Toulouse, very paying compliments to his own players for dealing with the conditions and the travelling. The fact that Toulouse haven't got that third win, and they're still very much stuttering along at the bottom of the table, probably tells me Warrington are not in that relegation battle. And I think we spoke about this on Sunday, Jimmy. You reckon that they're going to be...
Discussed a lot of things on Sunday. How long do you have to...
It's long half time.
Well,
I thought you were going to watch a game.
We did go. We had a bit of a catch-up. But I'll bring you in, Joe, because, Wakefield now... I was thinking about this, and this is me with my rugby brain. We know London went down historically with 18 points. I think the most points Toulouse are going to get is 14. I can only see 4 more wins for Toulouse. Realistically, I can only see 4 wins. So, you've got Wakefield on 10, Salford on 10, Warrington on 10, Leeds on 11. History will dictate, we are past the halfway point of the season, that those clubs, Wakefield are obviously, I think they've got Salford away next, so one of those is going to pick up a win. history's going to dictate Toulouse are going to sadly go down. So to answer the question, I forget the Warrington supporter's name. I think it was Lynn. I think Warrington are safe, but oh boy, if Toulouse were to get a bit of run of form and drag those teams into that relegation mix, we'd have an exciting into the season. But I think they just, sadly, it's going to be a little too late for Toulouse. But what's your thoughts, Joe? Because ultimately, Wakefield, they've had 2 good wins now over Warrington. Well, in fact, you can argue they've had 3 good wins over Warrington if you include the Challenge Cup tie as well.
I think I've probably got to apologise to Wakefield. I think I put the boot in a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? I think I said, they're in there. I think I was a bit, probably obviously looking back, probably a bit harsh. They're clicking, aren't they? They're clicking. I think they're probably where they're at, aren't they? They'll pull off some surprising wins, and they'll give a good go against anyone in that bottom half of the table. They'll give them a good game, and it's probably more closer to 50-50. And they've obviously early on in the season they didn't quite go the way, but they pulled off, like you said, a good win against, I guess Warrington are in that bottom bit now, but yeah, pulled off a good win against Warrington earlier on, and they're just what they are. I think Wakey, they've got some young lads who, when on their day, perform. Corey, Lewis, when they perform, it's a beauty to watch. I think the one compliment I did give Wakefield a couple months ago was that they do play an amazing brand of rugby. It's actually really good to watch. They're exciting. Obviously, probably defensively they could strengthen up a bit, but I guess that adds to the fun of the game. I think that adds that fun to the game. And whenever I do watch Wakefield, whether they've been against some of the best teams in the league, it's always quite an exciting game. So credit to them.
Craig, you were at the game. Give us your thoughts on where Wakefield and Warrington are in terms of their season, because, we're 15 games in now in the Super League. Obviously, Wakefield, they're on a bit of an ascent now, and Warrington, I was looking at Warrington's form. They've had 2 wins in 11. That is horrific for Darrell. Horrific for a club like Warrington when they're spending so much money on the cap.
Horrific, but they're only a point behind Leeds, who are not horrific. I don't get that one.
No, I'm not putting the boot into Warrington.
You were very positive about the Leeds, but there's 1 point between.
I wasn't positive, Craig. I was saying their style of play on Friday, in my opinion, contributed to their downfall.
But I'm saying we can't say it's horrific if we then go Warrington are on 1 point between them. And then
okay, well,
it's horrific.
We'll say Leeds. We'll put Leeds in.
Yeah.
In
I'm saying
horrific,
you're not saying both, aren't you?
Yeah.
So my thing is on the game is Warrington are not far off. Massive lack of confidence, pressure. Wow, the pressure is on. I could see it in the players' eyes. Darrell don't look like Darrell, so there's a real pressure happening. Are the Leeds fans, would they allow Rowan a lot more time than what Warrington, with Darrell and the pressure? I think historically that happens. I look at the 2 clubs who I think the most pressure on is at the moment. Toulouse don't look like they're getting a lot of pressure. I think the fans are saying, have a go if it don't work. Hull and Warrington seem to be the pressure cooker jobs where you're like, if you said to me which players feel the pressure most in Super League, I would guarantee you it's Hull and Warrington. The 2 clubs where the pressure is hot. As a club, I thought every player tried. I didn't see the cohesion between when they finish sets, and somebody asked me what I thought. I said they don't finish sets in the areas I think they need to. I don't think they've got a natural kicker. They've got Steph George, Daz Clark and Gaz. Don't know if anybody's actually directing the traffic. So when they start sets, I think you can get an hot spot and you can put where they finish the sets. I bet you, this is without the stats, their hot spots could be anywhere. It could be dropping a ball on the third, it could be that. I reckon it'd be, I reckon St. Helens, you could go like that. Everyone will be the same place.
Yeah, turning over a good ball, 5-10 metres out.
And they don't know, completion high, so they don't know. But I think Warrington's was sporadic. But did they try? Did they have effort? Please, if you're a fan, don't say they're not trying, because they're definitely trying. Probably trying too hard. Mm-hmm. If I were Darrell, if I were a coach at that level, I'd probably be thinking of saying, take the pressure off them a little bit. They're not going to get relegated, Mick. I'll guarantee you that. They're not going to get relegated. They're in the biggest change at the club they've tried for years. Everything's going to happen. I think they're on about 9 to 10 retention changes next year. Massive. We just talked about Leeds. Leeds might have 3 at most. Warrington's going to have to do 10, maybe more. What we're hearing, it could be more. Wow. So this is the biggest turnover of players you'll ever see. In for Warrington, it's going to be huge. Wakey, as Joe said, they're brilliant. They just throw the ball about. The crowd are buzzing. I had quite a lot of fans who watched the show, Mick, and they were like, oh, you speak well of Wakey, don't we? They have a bit of crack saying, make sure you re-sign all our best young talents. Lewis Murphy on the day was absolutely world class for a young man. Not enough. I don't want to put pressure on him. Lewis did things. The chase back spectacular. I don't know if you've watched the break by Ashton. Ashton it must be a 10.6 on GPS. I don't know. Sorry, 10.1. I saw Lewis come across and I'm like, oh my God, he's catching him. So, I mean, that'd be a hell of a race. You'd pay to watch that race. But the other things he does, Mick, in yardage, he's bigger than you think. He's raw-boned. His feet are big. His hands are big. He must have made 100-plus metres getting out of yardage. There was one where he come out of one and he dropped Thulis 3 metres from his own line. And I thought, if he goes straight down line here, he's going to get an 80-metre try. On top of what else he did, and he cut in. And I had a chat with Willie Poach, and I said, should he have gone down the line? Yes, Dean says, yes, but he did the safe option for the team because he thought, if I go down there and I get pulled out, so he did. They've got some unbelievable. I think Wakey, because I don't know about anybody else. I mean, if you've been to Wakey, there's no pressure there. I don't know if it's me. You're walking round and you're saying Wakey are on 10 points, but you're not walking to a stadium full of 8. You're not walking to toilets and people are going, oh, fuck. It don't feel like that.
Yeah.
The other clubs that were on the same points, obviously ambitions are 10 times bigger than what Wakey are. That might have a massive point. What's to come, Mick? If you're at Toulouse, there's no pressure apart from if you win, they're going to clap you. Yeah. Wakey get a result. Standing ovation after the game. They did 7 laps. David Fafita never come on pitch for an hour. It was absolutely enthralling. Warrington are running. You can see him thinking, "Get me in sheds quick." Darrell's in this office above the game, and he don't come out for 20 minutes. He's like that, and I'm thinking, Willie Poaching doesn't look pressured. Willie Poaching's just him and Franny Cummins, and I'm like, maybe take the pressure away, and maybe the fans can help by not putting in that amount of pressure on Warrington. That was one of the best games I've watched this year for F on both sides.
Wow. You've mentioned another side there, Craig, under pressure, Brett Hodgson. And Hull FC, I managed to catch this game on Sky on Saturday.
Yeah.
Listen, again, we talk about the heat. Everybody knows, look, Hull FC have been going to the south of France now for 15 years to face the Catalan Dragons. Again, ultimately the damage was done in that first half, regardless of what people say, 20 points to 0. I don't know if you saw it, Jimmy.
Yeah, I watched it.
Hull FC, again, like Craig says, albeit they are comfortably in the playoffs in 5th, but, very inconsistent. And I think that's what Brett Hodgson is going to be under pressure, certainly with a very large vocal fan base like the early birds like they have over there in Hull. He's under pressure to take him to the next step.
Yeah, and I think they were probably, it was an unfortunate time to play Catalans. You kind of knew they were going to bounce back with a big performance. And yes, teams are used to going over there, but everything was against Hull. It was extra hot. Catalans were extra up for it. So there was no surprise for me in the result. But yeah, like Craig says, there's a lot of pressure on at Hull. And when you used the term before, trying too hard, Warrington and Hull are probably teams that are trying too hard and trying to force it. Well, Warrington more so than Hull. And whereas it Leeds, massively underperforming on paper, like Warrington, but the new coach coming in has just took the pressure off the players. He can absorb a bit. The fans can change their attitude a bit and go, right, we know the dream's over this year. We can just allow this period and see what he does and have a bit of patience. Whereas at Warrington and Hull, they expect things now because they've been promised things now to a certain extent. And Powley had a little bit of time, didn't he? He managed to get a couple of his players in, but he's not been able to put his stamp on it. And it's going to take him a lot longer than probably at the start of the year, tipping him as undoubtedly the main threats to Saints. That was most people's call. So that they are so underachieving, and then the pressure gets bigger and bigger each week. Hull probably a bit more, for me, was unrealistic to expect them to get near Saints, but...
I'm sorry, Jimmy, have you just said Hull are 5th?
Yes.
Well, I can't get my head around it then. It's mad, isn't it? Like
16 points, Craig, the 5th in the table.
It's like World War III after every game.
Because of how poor Leeds and Warrington are doing, Hull FC,
but
they've actually got a couple of games grace.
Yeah, it is a reflection on where the points are being spread out.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, isn't it? If you look at it, do we look at the big picture? Do we look at the big picture, are we all short as them? if they're 5th in the league and you went, oh yes, they're definitely getting in the playoffs, I'm thinking, Warrington and Leeds are not going to get in the playoffs, and that reportedly 2 of bigger clubs in the world.
Well,
now you look at that and you're looking, but I'll tell you now, all that's crazy. That's just so all above Hull KR.
Yes.
Well, I think the fans are.
Have you ever been to Hull KR? You go to Hull KR?
I've been to Hull KR. Yes.
You've been to. You've all been
to Craven Park.
Do you feel one bit of pressure any time you've been?
No, because I think the thing with Wakefield and Hull KR,
you look at the investment. You read a lot of the Hull's gripes, and it's the amount of money invested in certain players who aren't performing. And I think that's where fans get angry when they.
They'll be not on as much as Kenny Dowell, be on as much as any of them.
But Hull KR are arguably starting to achieve above where most people expect to get. It's same as anything in every level. If fans' expectations and clubs' expectations are optimistic, to say the least, it sets up for a recipe for disaster.
Well, do you think Leeds have got 3 players and Warrington good players? I probably know the answer, so I'm asking you an answer I might know. Who would be on money, if not more, than any of the Hull FC players? I'll tell you the answer.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's
calling the big players out. Do you think Tevano's been sensational at Leeds?
No.
Do you think he's on more than what they're on at Hull?
I totally agree, but that's where all the angry Leeds fans direct it at their big paid players who aren't performing, because you expect.
I must miss that. I never get that.
I
don't think it's anywhere near as bad as what Hull are getting it though. Hull, there's some of the things on Hull is.
Yeah. I think Gav Winners will be on double probably everybody.
Yeah, and he's getting an unbelievable amount of stick because he's not performing.
Yeah.
And same,
but I don't think as much as the Hull one.
It depends what you look at. If you look at Warrington boards, if you look at Hull boards, I think some fans are more vocal than others, aren't they?
I just feel it in the ground. And if you go to the ground and you're live, I've been to a lot of games this year, and you go, and listen, you go to Saints and you're in a carnival atmosphere. They're all dancing from. So I couldn't believe when they played Warrington, everyone's singing, "Come on, the Saints, come marching in." And it's like you're gonna walk when they come out. They were dressed. Remember Leeds United 70s tracksuits on, and everyone's clapping and warm up as they used to do at Leeds. It's like this is absolutely top dollar. The pressure.
It's an easy gig.
The pressure,
Saints fan though, isn't
the pressure. But I tell you what, you'd love to be a Wakey player now at the moment, or maybe even when you say you just mentioned 4 or 5 teams in that bottom 5. I'm telling you, if you're a player, you're going to be a Wakey player at the moment, because the other 2, they're 5th. Well, what would happen if Hull were in Leeds' position at Warrington?
Because did anyone have? Did any of us have Hull in the top 4? I think fifth realistically was
I didn't have
where they were going to be.
I mean,
they're not above. I don't think they're above Catalans. They're not above Wigan. They're not above Saints. And then, it's just not.
Did you have a league top 4?
No. I had them in that sort of.
Did you have Warrington and Leeds in?
I had Warrington in. I had Leeds, I think, 6th. I didn't have Huddersfield as high. Huddersfield, Huddersfield this season for mine have probably taken Leeds, Warrington's place.
And you could probably put it as simple as that. You look at the table here, and I think Hull being 5th is probably what we would expect. But you look at the points, and you look at Huddersfield are now 5 points clear of him. Hull fans would have thought, why are we so far behind Huddersfield? And why are we only 2 points ahead of Hull KR?
I'd take 5 points above Leeds and Warrington. I think it depends how you look at it.
I know what you're saying. But they are massively underachieving. Hull are underachieving. And it's all about what the fans expect.
I don't know if Hull are underachieving. I don't know if
I think Hull fans losing to Wakey, that would have really. That's why the pressure's built.
To a drop goal. Wakey, like I said, Wakey on the day can beat nearly anyone.
Well, we're into if you think about it, right? We've watched quite a few at Leeds this year games, and it is different at Leeds where we sit, because 50% of the crowd are half pissed. They are, good result or not, they're still going to sink 10 beers and have a sing song in the thing. If we sat in the other end, the south stand, then you'd maybe get some real opinions, but. It's a lesson for everybody, Mick. The more pressure you put on, and social media is going to take some hammer for this, because, and I said this to a club chairman yesterday, I said the first club that come off social media was in Twitter and say it's just a negative tool for our club. I don't know what endorsements they get out of it. He said none. So all they're doing is directing people for tickets on the website and things. But I'd say that he said this to me: if this is true, and we should get a chairman on and ask him, if we win we'd get 50 to 60 comments. If we lose, we're into 200 to 250.
That's correct.
How can that tells you everything about our sport, the negative side of our sport.
That's the same with football, though.
Yeah, but why?
Because
why would you do that? Why would you not comment on something good?
There's an awful lot of rugby fans who spend the vast majority of their disposable income supporting their team, travelling.
What's that got to do?
Because this is how important it is to him, and this is how angry.
So they're not happy when it wins?
Of course, they're happy when they win.
No, they're not putting comments when they're winning. They're just going on.
Yeah, because they want to vent the frustration when they lose. That's human nature. That's just
but why would you not celebrate the wins?
Well, they do celebrate the wins, but they might not
dislike it and retweet it.
They might put a thumbs up when they're angry and they want to make their voices heard, like fans do in every sport, whether it's holding up a banner to get a manager out of football or doing a protest. That's when they want to voice their opinions.
I think that's a typical. My opinion of this is. And I've never been a hard supporter of anybody, so I can't talk of being I suppose I could say Leeds. I can't think of anything worse. And if I had somebody next to me who was that flippant to shout when they're losing but not shout when they're winning, I'd say, mate, you don't want to come to...
I'm not sure there's
Don't use your income as a thing of being that type of bloke.
I'm not saying there's...
You're different. Let me tell you this. When you watch rugby, to me, we have a total different journey of the game.
I used to be.
You used to be. You're emotional. You will give it the full...
Not so much, but I used to be massive. Yeah, so
yeah.
I can relate to
massive,
these
I'm
fans.
saying your attitude was totally different. You'd never seen
because
me
I
raise
was
a voice.
spending all my money and all my time going watching Leeds home and away.
Yeah.
So it was massive for me.
So it's massive for you, but were you a negative supporter or a positive?
I would say I was probably very positive because I was
opposite.
Well, you never knew me then, so that's a different thing.
The one I knew you're on when we've sat and watched, you vent. You can get
at the opposition, never at my team.
No referees. You'll get referees.
Yeah, referees in opposition, yeah. But never
I'm saying
team.
if I watch a game, and I've heard, I don't know about you, Mick, 'cause I've never really sat with you when you haven't been commentating. Are you a fucking offside?
Because after 12 years in the media now, I'm more looking at the players and trying to read the game. Yes, in another life, I would have been get him on side Gance and get him on side Cummings, get him on side Campbell. Yeah. But look,
And would you vent after the game? Would you go and give it some?
I have never openly booed. Well, look, I'm putting my Bradford hat on here, but I've openly never booed Bradford. Never, because I don't agree with it. No. Listen, I've seen Bradford under Brian Noble when they've been winning grand finals, Challenge Cup finals. They've gone to Wakefield and they've lost 13 points to 12, and there's 8,000 people in Bellevue. Half of them Bradford fans, and they're all booing and jeering an abject performance. I've never crossed that line. I've never left early. The only time I left a game early was when my dad decided, that's it, we were losing 36-0 at half-time to Wigan in 92, the Burden Park disaster, and he said, right, I'm not watching this shit anymore. He says, we're off to the pub, because it was this sick of watching Ellery Hanley score try after try, and Sean Edwards and co. But look, I've never subscribed to that theory, because I know I get what you're saying, Jimmy. A lot of rugby league fans are working class. They don't have a lot of disposable income. They might only have 50, 60 quid spare at the weekend to spend, and they decide to spend it following their team home and away.
Does that make you emotional?
Oh, 100%.
Well, yeah, of course it makes you emotional, but should it
Craig,
make you
you've
negative?
only got 50, 60 pounds. You've only got 50, 60
Yeah.
pounds, and times are hard.
Yeah.
You're deciding to spend that on following your team home and away. So if you're
adds
following
to the
home,
pressure.
if you're
That's all I'm
following them
saying.
home
Does it
and
add to the
away,
pressure if you win, though? I don't get it.
I don't think there's any fans who don't celebrate and love wins. And all I'm saying is, I would never do it, and I never did it. I was always just totally biased towards my team and would blame the referees and the other team.
who's your team, by the way?
I used to be hardcore Leeds. I'm totally different these last 5 years.
I agree. I used to be hardcore, but
what I'm saying
totally
is,
different. I'm totally different.
I think it's more a bigger thing that people are more frustrated in life, and social media is horrendous. People love to be negative, and this is just how people act now. They vent their frustration by being keyboard warriors, and it's just the way things are.
I suppose it's like I said to you, I've spent 15 years watching players. I don't watch teams, so I suppose it's hard for me to get emotionally drained into something that I would. But I'd like to think, and we might prove it right this year, I'd like to think when I do watch games, I've got a really nice view of... So I came away from the game on Sunday and everyone's like, how did it go now? And I was like, So when Warrington rang me, which they do, Warrington chairman might ring me, the coach, I said, love the game. He's like, cheers, looking at that, and I'm like, no, I love the game. It was entertaining from my point of view. That game was a great game. Now, through his eyes, he's probably got 200 tweets calling him biggest tosser you've ever seen. The players have been hammered, and I'm saying to players, really thought, so Toby King, I saw Toby and I said, your effort were great, Toby. You defensively, a couple of things you didn't do, but your effort was immense. You never stopped trying, you made loads of yards, And I'm looking and thinking, that's my view of it. That's my honest view of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I suppose I don't have to go home in the car and everyone's going, oh, God.
Craig, I think when it comes down to your last 60 quid disposable income, the result over the performance is what 99.9% of fans
it's more if they think...
It's going to be both ways, Mick. I don't get it.
But I think they're extremely... I don't know any... I've never come across a fan who's not extremely positive when the team's doing well, but yes, they're fickle. I always remember, going back 20 years, it was always a thing that, and I'm not going to go at you here, Mick, but I remember my uncle going, it's all great at Bradford, 15,000. Leeds, we were always just not quite getting there, and we had 14,000. He said, if it goes wrong at Bradford, they will be gone, because a large portion, not the hardcore, we're fickle. Leeds have got a hardcore following at 12.
Yeah.
And some fans and some clubs have got more solid, positive fans for whatever reason, and some are different.
Listen, I understand it's build a link, and we've all been there. We've all been skint and gone to sporting events. We've all had it tough and had to go and do it. We've done it, but I'd like to think, maybe I'm dreaming, I'd like to think that our sport's not, we got the Eddie Hearn report, so I'm probably talking the same. We are the most negative sport.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, so maybe I'm just in a...
The report from Eddie Hearn, we don't need to go into it, but yeah, that's why he ran away from him. Well, anyway, look, let's move on. Obviously, Catalans 36, FC 8. We've covered Wigan, very good against Salford. St Helens, made to work a little bit hard against Hulkeston Rovers. They appear to have turned the corner, and we touched a little bit on Toulouse against Castleford. Obviously, Castleford, coming up with a big win that keeps them in the hunt for the top six. In the Championship, just quickly, we'll start the game we were at, Jimmy. We'll get it over and done with. Interesting, Corey Johnson, absolutely immense in that half-back role with Dec Patton. Obviously, Jordan Lilly attending his brother's wedding in Greece, so he's was unavailable on Sunday. Obviously, Bradford could call on Corey Johnson. Alex Mellor was also involved in that performance, and Brandon Pickersgill. Interesting game. Bradford started like a house on fire, 10-0 up inside 20 minutes. Then got out infused a little bit of sloppiness around the ruck. Fantastic try to Chris Wellen, lovely Ben Jones Bishop palm back, one of the tries of the season for mine on the touchline. Bradford, very 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 clever try after the hooter. No one realised Pickersgill was coming on the inside, and then the second half really. I thought Bradford just out infused Sheffield. Great defence, and not many teams will go there and put 30 points on Sheffield.
No, totally agree. Yeah, I think it was clear to see from the first 10 minutes that Sheffield were tired, and that's what all the lads were saying. I think it was just one game too many before the break, and Bradford's timing of bringing in those three, who were all big players, was the difference.
Yes,
I don't think at any point of the game you really thought Sheffield looked like they had enough in him, except for me, the standout player by a mile, Brandon Douglas. Absolutely unbelievable performance. He's played 60 minutes and just didn't stop. Like, as good as any game. He's as good as anyone outside. And as his body's getting better after his struggle with his knees, he was superb. But even with that effort, it was just too much for Sheffield that day.
What's he on at Sheffield? Is he on a 1 year? Is he on a 1 year?
He's been after Brandon for a bit.
Whoa! Is he on a 1 year?
He's not available for next year. No.
So he's already signed up.
Yeah, he's got another year at Sheffield.
But it's good to see, because I remember this time last year when obviously he was a Doncaster player. Yeah. There was the Bradfords, there was the Yorks, there was the Halifax.
Every year for 3 or 4 years, there's been six.
They've all been in on him, and when you look at like who could be another, so to speak, another Chris Hill, making that step up. You know, you do look at your players like your Brandon Douglas and you are thinking...
Well, think about Dougie making his debut when he did for Cass. So I remember Gailey ringing me saying, got to get this lad. He were awesome. I think he was 18. You look at Oliver Wilson, you mentioned earlier on. It took Oliver 3.5 years.
Correct.
To be able to accept what you're saying today from being a star 18-year-old. Dougie never got that time. They don't get that time. Huddersfield deserve massive raps for getting Oliver 45 games over 3.5 period, and now they're going to get an England player of the future.
Yeah, get very
Poor old Dougie would have been judged very harshly. Not knocking Powley or coach, whatever, but it'd have been one mistake and he's out. And I don't think we've seen Dougie. He might have got injured and Dougie might say it, but I think we didn't see Dougie again for about a year. Maybe one other time after his debut. So that's another lesson for people, giving them young men a lot of time. Give them the games. Yeah.
Just a quick one, because we've had quite a few people asking about the Bradford head coach. Listen, as I said a couple of shows back, I think there's no pressure. We know the 210s, 212s. We know the restructure's going to come in. I spoke to the CEO, Jason Hurst. So obviously, Monday the 5th, the application process was finished, finalised. He told me they're going to start the interviews after the Dewsbury game. So that tells me Mark Dunning has got till the Dewsbury game to make a stake for a claim. You know, without Jason giving too much away, I think Mark is going to be given an interview and a real opportunity to be given the reins at the club. And like I say, you know, there's a chance Bradford might, you know, put in a big performance against the Dewsbury Rams, which might tip it in Mark's favour. But they're going to start the interview process at the end of this month.
A challenge on something here.
That's for all the Bradford
fans. To give
fans.
an opinion, because you're going to have to give an opinion on this.
Yes.
So, Mark Dunning's been at the club 6 years.
Mark's been there 10 years.
10 years.
2012,
Same
Mark
as
joined
Mike
the
Pete
club.
at Wigan.
No, Matt has been 13 years at Wigan.
So there's only 3
Very
years.
similar parallels.
Yeah. So, did Wigan go out for applications before they hired Matty?
No, I don't believe they did.
Well, that's the answer.
Because we knew Matty Pete was getting that job.
How do you feel about Mark's gone in? You as a Bradford supporter, is it fair on Mark? Do you think this is more in my opinion? Do you think if Mark doesn't get 85% win ratio of his 6 or 7 games in charge, which is a massive uplift from the previous coaches, or whatever the stat is, you think it's still right for the club to go out there and look for the right man, or do you think Mark should be given a go? And then after that, how do you feel? Because I think if I'm Mark and I'm trying to drive these standards now, which I've heard he's doing, and he's wanting to play a brand of rugby, and he's got the group and he's saying, hey, but they're looking at him thinking, you might not be hearing about a month, son, you might. I think what he's doing is remarkable, knowing what lads I do, when they'll shift their own blame on anybody, they'll go, he's not here. What's your opinion as a 25-year Bradford fan? If Mark hits 90% of it next 5 weeks, overall his tenure, should he be given a year's chance at the job?
Craig, this is how I look at it, and I think I said this a couple of shows back. Because of where Bradford are and what's potentially happening next year with the restructuring, I just feel that... All right, I'll say it as this. I've told Nigel Wood directly, I said, look, you don't need to appoint a coach this year because we know what's happening next year. That's the shitter bus year. I think Mark, personally, should be given the remainder of this season. Mark should be allowed, because what I'm seeing, and regardless of what Bradford fans, because I'll get criticised for this no matter what.
That's why I'm asking.
You know, I'm seeing, progression. You've only got to see the Ryan Miller tries where you've got the lovely flick on passes, Kieran Gill. We never saw that under John Keir, and that's no disrespect to John Keir, because John Keir, used Bradford a particular old school, type of way. Whereas Mark is kind of like, not saying the shackles are off, because the shackles never really were on, but they're playing with a lot more creativity and a lot more freedom, and you saw that on Sunday. The hoot has gone, and Patton's got the nod from Pickersgill up into the in-goal area. Pickersgill's there, no one there. That completely outfoxed Thackeray, Farrell, QLT. So you are seeing a different Bradford Bulls, style of play. What I will say is, there was that disappointing defeat against Featherstone. But again, as we said on last week's show,
Why were that disappointing?
Featherstone at 1.1, Bradford at 350. It's to be expected. Again, Bradford doubling up after Thursday.
Why was that disappointing?
Well, look, it's Craig. You've got to be brutally honest. You can't sell and say there's anything positive about a 58 points 12 defeat. You can't. You've got to say it's disappointing in the way that Featherstone, their superiority, their class, Bussey, Wildy out of the ruck speed, Bradford just couldn't cope with it. So, in my opinion, it was disappointing, especially the 30 points they conceded with Featherstone going up the hill. But that result was expected.
You lost injury early in the game.
I agree. But that result was expected. Yeah. But look, I'm certainly seeing a lot more harmony amongst the players under Mark Dunning. Like I say, he's made changes. A lot of fans won't realise, but there used to be a games room at Tong, for instance, and John come in and that were it. The pool tables out, the ping pong tables are out. It was very, John wanted it his way. Whereas Mark, because obviously Mark's been there for 10 years, he remembers what the atmosphere and mood was like at Tong when Rowan Smith was there, when Jimmy Lowes was there. And obviously one of the first changes when I went to interview Mark, pool tables coming back in, ping pong table. He wants the players to have that games room. To have a bit more of a relaxed, calm sort of feel to it. But ultimately, I think Mark deserves a chance. He deserves a chance, Mark. Craig. Sorry. Similar to Matty P. He's been there. He's been there 10 years, and I understand fans when they say, "Well, Mark, what's his qualifications? What's his experience?" He's been there as a scholarship head coach. He's been there working under John Bastian as head of youth. He's been there as the under-18s. He's practically worked his way, serving his apprenticeship under Jimmy Lowes, Rowan Smith, Jeff Tuvey, obviously John Keir, who's had 4.5 years there. So Mark's been there, and it's similar to Matty P at Wigan. When's that time to shine?
If you look at,
I know the Bulls fans, Craig. Sorry, just quickly, they're probably wanting a bigger name. Listen, if you're a Bradford Bulls fan, please in the comments, do you think Mark deserves a chance? I mean, he certainly does based on the results that he's got so far.
Yeah, but
I think it would be cruel, Craig. I think it would be cruel if after the Dewsbury game, if Bradford do.
The reason I've asked you this is, let's say Andy Lass got the job after Radders at Hull, and at the time people were like, they might have thought he'd gone with Radders, but I think Radders said to him, look, he's there for the taking. Andy Lass got, I don't know if he got 12, 14 games to give it a crack. I think ultimately his percentage of losses were not good enough to keep the job, so they brought Brett Hodgson in. But he was given a crack at the shot at the title. I'd just like to see Dunning, Mark, have a shot at the title before you...
Agree.
I think if Mark goes into the CV one, he probably doesn't win. This is just my opinion.
Correct.
I think you've just said it, Bradford fans
they're expecting
roll out the barrel, bring Brian Noble back, bring this, we need Brian McDermott back, we need this. Mark's probably not going to roll off your tongue, but imagine if he gets about a 90% victories and only gets beat once with the Featherstone game we all watched. I think Muzzy ended up playing back row, he ended up there, they were like everything. I think it'd be very, very harsh, in my opinion.
Well, look, if you take the Featherstone game out, the away form is impressive. They've gone to Whitehaven, one of the best performances of the season for mine against Widnes. They've had a very, very impressive win. Don't forget, you talk about Sheffield players being tired. Don't forget, Bradford have gone through that same process, probably having a tougher run of fixtures than Sheffield, having to play Featherstone on Monday. Sheffield played on the Sunday, so Bradford had the shorter turnaround. Look, Mark deserves it. And what I will say finally is, with the restructure and remodelling coming in, there's no rush. There's no rush, because if you were to give it to a Brian Noble or some of the other names I'm hearing, I'm not sure what that actually does for Bradford this year, because no disrespect to York, Halifax, Barrow or Batley, it will be Leigh or Featherstone who go up. It will be Leigh or Featherstone that go up. This season, sadly, Craig, it's a holding year for the likes of your Bradford, your Halifax, your Yorks. Yes.
Yeah, because Leigh are there and Featherstone.
Based on what they're spending. Next year, when it comes down to it, you need to be in that top 7, top 8. It's shit or bust. That's when the real fun comes. And that's when I think Nigel and Jason and Adam Fogarty and the rest of the directors and people involved in the hierarchy, they've got a big decision to make. This is probably, like you say, a very big decision, because if Mark gets the results on the field, and they've got a Brian Noble, a Tony Smith, they've got the big names wanting to have a crack at it. Be a very brave man, and I know there's no room for sentiment in business, but let me tell you, if you're right, Craig, and Mark gets 85-90%, he should be the man to carry Bradford forward.
Here's one for the lads. We can have a little one on back of this. You look at, would Rowan Smith, Joe first, would Rowan Smith have been your first choice at Leeds, rolling off your tongue? Have they took a gamble on, they think a good coach who was young but hasn't got a name?
Definitely took a gamble, didn't they? Definitely took a massive gamble. I don't think anyone, when we did our one, I don't think anyone really had Rowan Smith up there. Obviously, they knew him from his Bradford days, but I don't think he was anyone's number. I don't think you can find anyone who was Rowan's number one.
Do you think when Saints got Christian Wolf, I think that went down at first?
Same, yeah.
So, what did you think about York? I think York got James Ford, do you think that
I think it's all about...
When York were in League One.
No, I'm saying York got James Ford, who was a player, 34-year-old ex-player.
Yeah, that was left field.
At the time, it was shocking. Yeah,
it's a bit different. But I think it's all about
League
what
One,
the longer-term plan is. Leeds, by appointing Rowan, have said, look, we are thinking about the bigger picture, the youth side of things, and we're not going to try and buy our success next year because we tried that and it didn't work. We're going to go on a different route, and but the only slight thing with the Bradford situation is, and this is I think why Widnes have done what they've done, is its recruitment side of things.
Correct.
So I 100% would like to see Mark Dunning until the end of the year for sure, and I would have liked to have seen him until the end of the year without much.
You mean recruitment, JK recruiting better than Mark?
No. I'm saying I think the reason why Widnes have pulled the trigger is so that JK can head up recruitment. Now, I would like to have seen Mark being given the chance till the end of the year without any talk of we've got to apply, we've got to put out a public. It got to the point where it was almost like, can we get some more interest, please? Because we've not had much. That's what it sounded like. So that puts unnecessary pressure on Mark. But this then links in with, should the recruitment be down to the coach, or should the club be saying we're going to take care of this, so we're going to plan for next year and then we'll appoint the person we want or keep the person we've got alongside it. Widnes had gone, we're going to get someone in now because we want them to lead our recruitment.
With next year being
the
huge.
issue with Bradford is they're either hopefully going to stick with Mark. I think he's done enough to deserve it for in the recent,
certainly next 3 weeks.
In the recent times, but also the career he's had with the club. But the only issue will be is if the club decide they want to nail on who they get now, so they can start ticking on with recruitment.
It's a good subject to look at the big names and have they been successful. And as we'd have to get somebody to historically say, does that work? Because if you look at Christian Wolf, you look at Matty Pete, you certainly won't pick them, the top two clubs at the moment.
Well, you'd probably look
have been the first choices.
You'd look at championship clubs who have been promoted though or done well, wouldn't you? That's probably what you'd look at it throughout history. Which championship clubs like the Batleys and with them have overperformed.
It's usually decided though. Do you not think at championship level, and Mick might correct me here, but it's usually decided on a lot of cap. Because they're all not spending the same in the championship.
No, that's why I said
very undecided whether somebody's a good coach. So the guy at Featherstone who came over, Ryan
Carr, yeah.
They raved about him. They raved about this coach, but he did have the biggest spend in the division, and he had access to Ashton Golden.
Correct.
Not promotion, just over. I said overachieving like the Batley club, like Fordy this year, massively overachieving on the budget. I think you probably have to look at historically who does my.
Well, it's your man. It's like your man. You've been in this sport now for 12 months, Joe. And I said this yesterday. Gets rave reviews, but he's bottom of the league. Well, second from bottom. Chris Thorman. We get loads of great feedback about Chris Thorman. I talked to the chairman yesterday, and it's not for me to mention it, but I said, what about this guy? The lads are rating it. And straight away, he just looked at his league position. He's like, oh, well. And I went, you're not judging it on that.
But that's based on, like you say, Warrington, because they don't have the finances behind them to invest in the playing squad. That Warrington probably are
Workington,
yeah. Workington are where they probably should be, in that bottom two, in that relegation battle, based on what they're spending.
But I think of it like...
Ulkiara brought in Willie Peters. I mean... That's out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake, you all went quiet on me then. So Willie Peters wanted my top 40. But are you in your top 40?
I hope no.
Again, left field.
So it's happening, isn't it? It is happening.
What I was going to say is I think there's two different sides to it. there is clubs who have got money and need a man manager. So Fev go, we have spent quite a bit of money, we've got a few egos, we've got some players. Brian Mack, top of the list, because he can manage the players. We can talk about Fordy all we like, but he's totally outdone by Craig Lingard. Yeah. Because his budget is 2/3 of Fordy's, and he's done it for 2 years in a row. As much as I love Fordy and what he's doing is brilliant.
Unbelievable.
Lingard's doing that on 200, and he's done it twice. So if you're going to talk about who is the coach who knows how to, and I know there's lots of other factors, he's had the same team and that can help, but do Bradford want a coach who's going to improve players and develop players and make them better, or do they? This is my opinion. Deck pattern. If you can't control deck pattern, you're screwed.
Correct.
You need someone to go in and go, no, you're not the big bollocks here. We are a team, and you need someone to control that. If you don't do that, you're in trouble. Don't matter who the coach is.
The counter to that would be, your point was they're bringing John Kieran to be a man manager. He was just at Bradford and failed, but got fired.
Good point. I mean, I don't know what their thinking is behind John Kieran. I was just saying they brought John Kieran early to head up recruitment. I don't know what direction he's going to go in, but
well, if JK's famous, whatever we say, known for being the man manager,
very well liked person by everybody.
So if that's not worked, I'd go with.
But he's going to have a double budget from what he's had at Bradford, so he might.
No, that's not an insult on John. That's a comment on Mark Dunning at Bradford. And if
I think
the
we're looking
JK way didn't go, why wouldn't you do the Mark Dunning?
Yeah, definitely. I think you're looking at Mark Dunning to be more in the coach.
Yeah, that wasn't an insult on anyone else.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Like I say, they're not going to interview until the end of June, so that's come from the club hierarchy. So Mark's certainly got a couple more games.
Put it back to October. Give him a chance.
I agree. A couple of people have been asking about Newcastle Thunder. They're in free fall. Are they in a relegation battle? Look, let's just quickly focus on the championship at the bottom. Obviously, Workington a very disappointing home defeat to Barrow. Paul Carey, listen, he's going under the radar. Barrow, quite rightly, they're in the playoffs with their 9 wins and that noticeable draw they had at home against the London Broncos. Workington, for mine, I don't want to be too critical, but I think they're dead and buried. That's just my honest opinion as we reach the halfway point in the championship season. But the saving grace for Workington is you do have Widnes losing every week. You do have a Newcastle losing every week. You've got a Whitehaven that are very hot and cold. They can put in a performance on the day, but then, they've been very unlucky with injuries and their form has gone down the pan. And, the big result at the weekend was obviously London going to Dewsbury and winning by 26 points to 18. That takes London out of the bottom 2 for the first time this year. And again, you talk about coaches, you talk about people giving an opportunity. Well, look at Mike Eccles, he's very similar to Mark Dunning, who has come through the under-16s, the under-18s, the scholarship, the head of youth. And Mike Eccles now has got London playing. They very nearly beat York the previous weekend. I think London now will kick on.
It's interesting though, because Jimmy said something there about Craig Lingard, and isn't it funny, you mentioned Newcastle, London and the Cumbrian clubs. As an agent, you will find it very hard to get a player to Batley, location-wise, is pretty easy. To get a player to London and even start the process, you're probably talking 15, 20 grand above what you should have to pay anyway. But also to get him to buy into what they're going to do and stay, either travel 2 hours or they stay at Newcastle. I spoke to Newcastle over the weekend and it's definitely a problem. If you look at how they were set up this year, Newcastle, Minzy and Sam didn't last. Thomas didn't last 6 weeks. Sam lasted 12 weeks. I think they lost another 2 Lancashire players the same, where they just didn't want to travel or stay there. You historically look at Batley and they've always managed to get either ex-Bradford players, ex-Liverpool players,
ex-Leeds.
And it must be a great place to be, and that's the culture must be great, because when they won it with John Keir, they had a load of lads who just love staying there for years, so that's massive on them. But it is very hard we got asked, if we sit in an office on a Monday morning, the most vacancies we get for players are Cumbrians. Like the players, you'll say, oh lads, and these, everyone will be like, oh yeah, Workington, because they're struggling to get players over to these places. we've got to factor that in when we talk about, what club, this club, that club. Yeah. People, it's easy, I can criticise Newcastle and absolutely put the boot and you think, God, they're massive achieved, but they are having it so hard because the juniors are not quite ready, and we talked about, Joe watched that game last night, the Leigh game last night. How could you put 98% of a championship against Leigh? You've got Blake 30, it looked like heavyweight champions of the world against, and Featherstone are beating Bradford by 50.
Correct.
And these could have put 50 on Featherstone. Every single bloke we were looking at, and I were like, don't take ball in. Oh, bang, bang.
And that Leigh performance, I don't know what you felt, Craig. I felt they didn't get out of second gear. I thought that was not a vintage.
But physically, I'm going to finish my point, but physically, so you look at it, Newcastle, you've got to go there. You're not in Manchester. If you go to Newcastle, you're staying in Newcastle.
Correct.
Leigh can attract Manchester, Leeds. If you get an Aussie who comes over here, he can go and live in Leeds and travel. I'll go live in Manchester. I can live there. I can live there. Yeah. Newcastle, you're either there. Yes. So I do feel the clubs like Cumbria, the clubs like Newcastle, poor old London historically over years, have had nightmare. I can remember Brian Mack once saying, do you know how hard it is, Tops, to get people to come here? He goes, luckily the Australia lads 10 years ago wanted to come to London. They're all like, yeah, get me to London. He goes, imagine now in Championship, you're not going to get that happening. And people from the north, you lads will find it. When you talk to a lad to go to London, it's a tough sell, isn't it? Yeah. So I think it's very hard half of it, Mick, until it actually goes to locations. I think we're going to stick up for a couple of they've just said bottom four. What is it? Newcastle for 2 Cumbrian clubs.
No, Newcastle aren't in the bottom 4 yet.
No. Well, if we look at the bottom 6,
3 of them.
Well, Dewsbury's been a nightmare then, hasn't it?
Witness Newcastle, Whitehaven, London,
Dewsbury. But lobby spenders, yeah.
Yeah, but like I say, the point was a lot of Newcastle fans, Craig, they're not happy with Dennis Betts, they're not happy with Eamon O'Carroll. You've got to say, based on what Newcastle are spending, the 3rd highest in the division, and that is fact.
But take away you've got to personally take away the 108,000 it's took to get him to location. We've got to be fair to him. It's not purely on players' wages.
No, I agree. You do have to pay that. Like if a player's going to London, like with Sam Thomas Mins, Brad Day going up to Newcastle, you do have to pay that little bit extra. But what I'm saying, Craig, is even with that factored in,
massively,
you have to say
underachieved.
They've underachieved. Eamon and Dennis, and the pressure is going to be on. I think we all speak to Newcastle, and we know that their recruitment is obviously it's going to have to
be better.
Yeah, a hell of a lot better, because Newcastle are one of those clubs who.
Well, your problem is if the chairman pull, this is
Seymour, yeah.
This is a Derrick. This is a Campbell.
Yeah.
Seymour is a one-man band. If he pulls the budget, it's good night, Irene.
Correct.
And that's their whole job is to keep Seymour with belief that they can get this golden ticket for Super League, be it BRA. Same as Mark Campbell, same as Derrick. When you've got one person funding the club, David Hughes historically funding London £13 million over 12 years. Once he's pulled the plug, they're at bottom of Championship because he said no more. Enough's enough. Now, if they'd done that at Newcastle, the dream's over. Unfortunately, the dream is over. So the stakes are high at Newcastle, Mick. A lot more than it is in Cumbria. Batley and Dewsbury. Batley's a club, and Dewsbury, if you think about it, if Dewsbury were down this year, and I speak to Mark Sawyer a lot, and I hope he don't judge me on this comment, but I don't see that much pressure on Dewsbury either way. I think he goes, well, look at there, we'll probably win that, and Batley will do it. But Newcastle's another role in Warrington. The pressure seems to be immense, doesn't it? Even more than London, do you agree?
Yeah.
Even more than London.
I think the thing with Newcastle is, and I know a lot of Newcastle fans watch this show, but when we got invited to Newcastle a couple of years ago, and it was all like Super League 2030, this is our vision, by 2030, we're going to be in Super League, we're going to be playing in front of 5,000-6,000, we're going to win Super League by 2030. You see, by setting that kind of time frame and deadline, the pressure is on, and whether or not Eamon and Dennis will subscribe to that pressure, I know 2030 is still 7.5 years away, but you're looking at Newcastle this year, and the manner of the defeats. I mean, to go to Batley and lose by 58 points,
with a good start as well.
Yeah, really good start.
With a really good start, that it's the collapse. And again, very similar to what you said. You said a good word earlier, Craig. Confidence at Hull FC, confidence at Warrington. You don't see the confidence at Newcastle, but there is the success stories at Newcastle, because you talk about your Alex Donnays, your Isaac Noakes. There is those crop of young players that are coming through, but whether or not they're ready for regular Championship Rugby League remains to be seen.
We'll all agree one thing. When we watched that game last night and the 2 weeks before, this is now going into... And please don't slaughter us, Fed fans. Please, we're only giving a comment, but I am. If I were anybody else now looking at what Team Leigh have got, who I believe are a top... And this is what I wanted to talk to you about today. I think Leigh are a top 6 Super League side at the moment, if not higher. Well, and that's a ridiculous comment, but I'm watching them, I'm thinking... And I did this morning. We did this with a coach. He didn't play last night. Memi, is it the left centre?
Yeah.
Nene
McDonald.
He's top 5 player Super League.
Correct.
You all agree?
Agreed.
The hooker, forget about it. He'd be top 3.
Well, the way he parped last night was this controlling it and the passes.
He's just
He's a
frightening.
monster, isn't he? Monster.
Then you've got the back rowers. Who are
Craig, look.
the bow tech back rowers. You then go, you then go the couple of props you go. Would they fit into a top 5 club? 100%. Then you've got, I don't even want to talk about Blake Ferguson because it's not fair on anybody else in the league to talk about a 6'4" bloke doing double somersaults, 25 foot in air.
At 32,
And then he's taking 15 metre carries off his back line and props are dropping off him because they don't want to tackle him. It's that level of where he is. I go as far to say to you, this once, I think he could be the best winger in all the comp now. Wow. Honestly, well, challenge me. When you look at size, and
I'm not going to disagree.
And we've got one player we can throw in.
I'm not going to disagree.
Apart from like Tommy Mack.
It's never been known we've got the top player in the country at the moment in the Championship. Unless we can throw one in.
First half at season, Nene McDonald you'd also consider him up there. I think there wouldn't have been many top Super League teams not having a serious look at him.
Well, I think they were.
I know Derek's saying there's another one to come from the NRL. So
why?
By the way, Derek, apologies, public apology. I certainly didn't know you got to Future Academy.
No, Leigh did, but Leigh did originally have an academy, and they stopped funding it.
Anyway,
let's not get into it.
Apologies, the 10 players they got refused the RFL. Let's hope Leigh get them back, and the 10 players don't go. So, but carry on.
But what I'm saying, Craig, is that you're quite right. A question coming from Sean, I forget his surname. He says, "Where do you all see this Leigh team?" And you're right. I see this Leigh team, putting 16, 18, 20 points on a Toulouse, a Wakefield, a Salford, a Warrington, a Leeds.
What happened in the Challenge Cup, though? They got beat, didn't they?
But they got beat by LKR by 6 or something.
6 points.
But how many overseas have you on now?
They've bought in more since that game against
They're
LKR.
way stronger now. But the problem is what we
agree.
talked about the other week. They can't keep that team
No.
because we've got too many overseas. So that's where you ask now. Let's say, and again, no disrespect. Leigh are now big favourites to go up, but. Where did it go from here?
I know.
I'm keeping Hooker.
What does Chris Chester and Adrian Lamb do? What does Derek do?
Whatever happens, Hooker's staying with me and get rest. He's just brutal in defence. His yardage is ridiculous.
They might lose 2 of the big 3, let's say.
Well, they are going to. As you said, the salary cap and the quarter spots are going to come.
Who's the back rowers, Mick? The back rowers last night.
So if they lose those, then we're not a top 5 Super League team.
Well,
unless they can generate English talent at that level,
and recruit English, and but that's why it's not as simple as they're going up and we're going to kill it because we'll have to.
No, I'm on about now. I'm on about watching. I think you like watching now. If you dropped a top 4 side into Championship now, you're watching it. We are live watching a top 4 side playing Championship rugby.
On the flip side of this, what does Featherstone do? Because we know Featherstone, Mark Campbell's on about bringing in somebody from Hull FC, he's on about bringing in another...
Who the hell are you going to bring in now to go against that size? Do you see the size difference? I've had 15 texts off players all this morning going, forget about the skill level. That is another pure physical size. You watching Featherstone props tech balling, Mick. And I've seen Featherstone bully a lot of teams in the middle.
Every team.
There wasn't one Featherstone player apart from Junior Moores who were making an impact in yardage. Everyone else were winning. Mick, I think what you said earlier on's right. I'm afraid to say Leigh could have scored a big score last night. Featherstone are hoping for a knock-on. They're begging for a summit to give them a chance in yardage. These can roll you 150 metres a time.
I think there is one... And I am agreement that Leigh are definitely favourites, but ultimately, it's going to come down to one game.
Correct.
And Leigh were way more up for last night than Fev were at home. I think Fev were probably half accepting that this probably won't go away. We are going to have to go away to Leigh in the final. But
I disagree with that.
Well, put it this way.
I disagree with that.
I spoke to a Featherstone player on Sunday, and his words were, "We don't care how many times they beat us this year, as long as we get them in the final."
That's what they say.
This is just what I'm saying. If we're the underdogs, brilliant. Yeah, because in one game, Leigh will be favourites. Leigh will be minus 14 on the handicap. But one sin bin, that game's on. The difference isn't huge. Leigh have got them, I agree. But come to that final, it's not over. It's not over.
No, I'm not saying it's over by any imagination.
You only need
Jimmy.
one bad referee call.
I'm asking the question.
They beat Featherstone easily at Featherstone last time. And I think on the day...
No, Fev beat Leigh comfortably.
Yeah, but they beat them twice from the trot, haven't they?
They beat them in final of the 8
the final, a neutral ground.
Yeah.
If they go to the Leigh in the final,
Leigh
you're probably going to beat them 9 out of 10, aren't you? You were saying the one chance you've got.
Correct.
9 out of 10.
I'll go 7.
And that's why last night, that's why in my opinion, that game last night was so important. Because if you're saying now Leigh are just going to go the remainder of the season undefeated, they get the top spot. And all the routes,
that was all about
all
the top
routes.
spot.
I know you're laughing, Craig, but all routes, very similar to like the Super Bowl. All routes to Super League are going to go to the Leigh Sports Village.
No, they're going to
have a home semi-final against a Barrow, a Batley, a Bradford, or an Halifax. We know more than likely which way that's going to go. And I don't want to be disrespectful to any of those clubs I've just mentioned, but historically. Leigh will be in the £1 million game, and then if it is a Featherstone, the question was, what does Brian McDermott
I think this winger could end up with 35, 40 tries by end of the season, and he missed first half of the season. I think you're going to see something you've never seen.
How many? He scored 13 or 14, hasn't he?
7 games.
7 games.
And I think he's missed.
14,
I think you look. You know what, Brad? Here's one for you. Mac last night played a tactical move. He played the big winger,
Gareth Gale,
who's only had his 3rd or 4th game this year, to go against Ferguson.
Correct.
Ball went in air foot first when he was 6 foot above
Gareth Gale. 6 foot.
And I'm looking and thinking, he's above Gareth Gale. No one's ever bished in it once, I think, in last year's final. But you're above him, and he's landing, he's there above him, so he's that far above him. I don't know how the hell anybody is going to counteract that tight. Unless you look at Featherstone's big signing was the right edge centre.
Yeah, Joe Lalua.
Well, if no offence to Joe, and I don't know him, but you look at Joe, he wasn't taking any yardage in. He didn't seem to. It were a different level what they've got. I go too far to say is I have the best championship side. I know, but this not up at top because I called this when they were even money at the final. I said Leigh will beat him because I could see Derek text me saying this is the best championship side, even better than Toronto and Toulouse at the moment that I've seen.
Agree.
And I never thought I'd say that because I thought that Toronto side coming up were just like.
So we've got to give Cheze, Lamb, Derek, round a lot of respect for what they put together.
But Jimmy has hit the point of the day. Well, probably not of the day. Is next year they are going to have to get recruited now because if they're only allowed 6 overseas, is it 7, 6? 6 in the full squad, to play. They're going to have to make some massive calls because how you would pick. 2 back rowers.
Let's be brutally honest. Out of the keep, Nenny McDonald, out of the keep, Ipape, because I think the Super League interest is going to be there. I don't know who their players.
No, but they're all weary, Derek. I disagree with that because they know Degsy in Super League's going to pay them the money. Derek is one thing about Derek. He's consistently going to say to you, "You've got effing no chance. I will beat you." So you're lucky if you're one of them 4 players because this is not a club going up and they go, "Oh, poor old them. They're going to nick all the players." Derek will be like. You're going to nick my players, are you? Yeah. It's not going to happen. So I don't think Deggs is ever known as confident, right? When he's gone up before, he's always said they've had problems because they didn't know they were going to get up till playoffs and all. Yeah. I think Derek's walking around thinking we can recruit now. He thinks and like it's a one-off game. Yeah. But I think they think it's all over by the shouts on. I think he's looking at him to say, well, what odds were the booking you this morning on Leigh?
There'll be 1 to 3.
Ever since the 1895 Cup final,
1 to 3 on.
Leigh
so they're a bigger favourite than Saints to win it.
Yeah, easy.
Featherstone last night were getting an 8-point start.
12-point start.
Did it end up at 12?
Always 12 all week. Yeah.
Right.
So Saints won last 3 grand finals.
And they're evens.
And they're evens, and these are 1 to 3. So,
well, like I say, to answer your question, Leigh fans, Craig reckons top 6. I've got to agree. You know, they'd be between 8 and 4th. Jimmy, quickly, where would Leigh be in Super League with his current side?
I'll get less carried away, but I still think they could beat anyone outside the top 3.
Wow. Joe?
I'm having them in between the Cass, Hull KR, so I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Yeah,
wow.
when they played Hull KR in the Challenge Cup, did they have Ferguson?
No, they didn't have anything like.
I don't think they had a Pape either.
They didn't have a Pape.
They lost by 6 away.
And the other...
I don't know if you saw it last night. Camera went on Derek in box.
Well, no, the camera went on Derek, and I don't want to say it because I couldn't start laughing, but Derek was sat with Uddy. Wasn't he? Liam Wood used to obviously play there, and I thought, oh my God, I hope he's signing for Wakefield. I know they're good friends, by the way, so I'm kidding.
Well, look, let's move on to the England All-Stars. The England squad has been announced. I'll quickly read it out. Matty Aston, Joe Batchelor, John Bateman, Mike Cooper, Liam Farrell, Ryan Hall, Matty Lees, Michael McClora, Mike McMeekan, Paul McShane, Tommy Makinson, Michael Ledsky, Joe Philbin, Stephen Ratchford, Sam Tompkins, Alex Walmsley, Jake Wardle, Callum Watkins, Jack Wellsby and George Williams. Obviously, very different to what we picked.
Yeah.
There's obviously your Whiteheads, your Burgesses, your Luke Thompsons, obviously. Who have not been picked in it. I'll just for equal measure go through the All-Stars. So we were on the press call yesterday at 3:30. It was supposed to be 12. Ellery says, look, we can't do it at 12 because we haven't finalised this team. They finally managed to finalise it. I think he said 16 or 17 had pulled out. And this is what they've ended up with. Darryl Clark, Brodie Croft, Kenny Edwards, Marnie Fanua, Sean Kenny Dowell, Samasoni Lange, Cruz Leeming, Reece Martin, Peter Matiutai, Manu, Jacob Miller, Matt Parcell, Matt Pryor, Liggy Sow, Chris Sate, Ken Seo, Kalel Pitanginoa, and Zane Tetavano. So,
and we know the 18th man surprise is what they're announcing today.
well, come on, this show's not going out till later, Craig. Who is it? Who is it?
No, I can't tell you.
Is it Blake Ferguson?
No.
Well, I'm not being funny. I'm not going through all those names for the All-Stars. I'm saying Blake Ferguson's better than all of them. What's going on?
I think some players want a week off, don't they, as well? That'll be the thing.
Well, I'll tell you
I'm
what.
going to give a clue. The player that it is, and I don't want to bubble the bus, so Sam, don't put this out till later on, please. He's somebody who, as Joe said, well, that's not a shock. That's ridiculous that he went in there in the first place. So that was your comment this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is, Joe?
No, I don't. No, yeah, I do. He told me this morning, yeah.
I hate surprises. The show's not going out till later.
I'll be dour about it. It's not a surprise.
Right.
That's what Joe said. It's not a surprise, ridiculous that he's not there anyway.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not left field like someone up and
And
coming.
we all thought Blake Ferguson because they did Leigh it thinking you watched him last
That'd
night.
be so cool, wouldn't it? It would be
In
cool.
fact, is a Pape in?
No.
They should do.
So
Should
let
be
me tell
telling
you
us-
something. I'm going to have a go here. I'm going to have a go here. So let me get this right. The people who thought Cruz were going to play for Paul, Rainey's making it clear Paul's number 1. Correct. And then obviously Wayne said on your thing this morning that any lads who they need a game, the England lads are going to play for the Exiles. I'm going to challenge that a bit. I know it's here for the England to get what he sees as a World Cup squad.
Match ready.
But the Exiles stand on their own as a proud team and have beat England last year.
Correct.
And everyone were buzzing about the brand.
We had Carl Hall on the show.
Carl
Hall very proud as a Kiwi.
Brilliant job. But they should stand on their own 2 feet because if it were me...
Well, it's Nene. Nene's not in either, is he?
No.
But I'd have the hooker last
Pape,
night.
yeah.
He'd been my first thing with... So he's been told to play Cruz, hasn't he?
We don't know who the 16 who have pulled out, though. And it may...
No, Ellery was asked that and he says it's not for me to say.
it
Obviously,
makes some
that
some
it's
clubs-
been very difficult. It's been a very difficult process. Look, privately, you speak to Super League chairman, they say it's a shit show. They don't want this fixture because ultimately... You know, they've had
If Leigh loses...
No, I know, I agree.
What do you think, I think Derek... I don't know Derek enough, but surely he'd say yes to...
But if let's say...
Yes,
Listen, they get injured,
Alex
the World
Ferguson
War.
did it for years. If those 3 get injured, They've gone nearly.
Who's paying them?
It's even money again, isn't it?
I get that, but then how good would it be for Derek to say,
I get you.
F you, essentially, I've got the best players
Would
in
you-
the world.
I would-
Nightmare is if
risk
three of them come back injured, it could
It's
cost
even
Derek
money.
£1 million.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not a risk.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it.
But I do get you for the game. Imagine championship
Game
players
unbelievable.
like them four.
Yeah, if it was done straight, at a different time, straight after season, it's a no-brainer. But you.
But so England must have a say who plays for the Exiles. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, there's been a bit of joined up thinking in this. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
It's going to be. It's going to be an interesting spectacle. Saturday for me. I know that I don't want to be too disrespectful about this, but I would rather see a proper full-blown international, whether or not you could
Play France or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
That never worked.
I know it never worked, Craig.
This has been replaced. The France test
I
match
agree.
because it's more competitive.
I agree.
We
But
beat France by 30 or
No,
40
but-
separately, Joe. These
Yeah,
Exiles have beat us and only just got, I think, what's the two results? I think they matter.
For one last year, didn't they?
They won last year. So
yeah.
this is a lot stronger for Sean Wayne.
no, I
Yeah,
agree,
I get
Craig.
you.
But it doesn't sit right with me. You've got
Yeah.
Daryl Clark, Cruz Leeman. On
It's
the,
like England A playing England B's mixing a few.
listen,
into-
the
But
Saturday-
only
Listen,
because-
I hope it's a success.
But that was
I hope
only
it's a
because-
success. The RFL need every penny, but
And it was
for
only
me-
because players dropped out.
for me,
that
this
was
is-
never the
yeah.
intention.
No,
Dave
I
said
agree,
we can
Jimmy.
pad it out.
I agree.
It's great for Cruz. Cruz gets a chance to show I can try and mix it with McShane. So
That's
it's
what I
a
was trying
little
to say
bit-
to Craig. That's the feeling I got yesterday from Ellery. That there has been a bit of communication between Sean
Yeah.
and Ellery over, well, can we have
My
Darryl Clark, can we
feelings
have
on it
Cruz
is the
Leeman in?
Exiles is a great brand itself, so let them stay on their own 2 feet like they won in Australia. Just pre-season they played the
Oh,
big
it's
game,
unbelievable,
and it's
isn't
now
it?
a top brand. They didn't think no could even compete with Origin. It's now getting massive figures. The
The
Exiles and
Indigenous
Carl
versus the
should
Maoris.
say no. It's our. I know they've had problems, so it's easy for us to say.
Yeah.
But the other one, Mick, and the only other argument you'd have is, could we have an England trial match as such as play England first team, and what we just said, England Knights, and maybe add some...
That'd be quite cool.
Or Great Britain. We could say the best Wales, Scotland or whatever. But I've always said the best game they'd get would be the Knights, because if you've got that team you've got for England, but then you play against Toby King,
Oliver Wilson.
and then you start
English,
stacking them up,
Owen
and you
Trout.
could put a team together and think, you know what, I'd have a go at this.
Jacob
I'd have a... Yeah. And I think if it's Exiles, stick as Exiles, my opinion. Stick as Exiles, let the crew swap over Wimpole and have half a game
Yeah,
each.
definitely. It doesn't sound like you said, it's not from lack of trying, though. Something's gone wrong in it.
But we had this problem last year,
We
and
did,
that is
yeah.
the thing. While you've still
That's
got
why Jake
promotion
Connor and
and-
them played, didn't they?
While you've still got promotion and relegation, without Ellery saying who the players were, it's clear as day, because you've got a Warrington down at the bottom, because Leeds are down near the bottom. Clubs are thinking, well, hang on a second, if we play in this.
Well, you might be able to work it out.
Clubs,
you might be able to
clubs,
look and
clubs,
see, is there a
clubs.
couple of clubs that aren't involved here? Or is it individual? Like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a couple of
Yeah, 'cause
players.
it's not Leeds.
who
Leeds
are-
have got
no,
2 or
Leeds
3
have
in
got
the
four
Exile,
in,
yeah.
Yeah,
It-
Tetevano,
There might
Cryer.
be a club who players have gone, do you know what? I've been looking forward to this weekend off. I need it. My body's knackered.
Yeah.
Let's just go and have one night on the sauce.
How do you
But
think?
wouldn't it be great if they could slip Blake Ferguson in now? We're all Blake Ferguson fans. I think he'd put 5,000 on gate when I saw it last night. And do you know what I said I think I said it to Joe last night. Physically, the only winger I could see physically going against him would be Ryan Hall. Not as fast, but physically, 110 kilos, whatever Ryan is. You look at that, we could have watched that on Exiles, couldn't we? We could have watched Hawley go against Blake Ferguson. That'd have been a hell of a match-up, wouldn't it?
Did he go against him in Oz? Did that battle ever happen in Oz?
I don't know, but I couldn't think anybody physically who could go against him in
No, but I'll be playing centres against him, wouldn't they? They'd have to
You know what we get? Do you know the good thing about it is? One of my heroes as well, Ellery, to come back into the arena.
Oh, it's
And
magical.
see him in action. And do you know what? If there's a club out there after this and you watch him, I can vouch for one thing, whether he's late on his selections, whether he's finding it hard to get players, they will be prepared. Unbelievable. And he will give the speech. They will sit in that room and that light, and he'll go, listen. And they'll look up and they'll see the greatest player to ever play the game. No matter who you are, you're in the midst of an absolute... How many times might Ellery do this again? I hope he gets a gig in Super League.
I agree.
But you might never see Ellery in this arena again. So if I were a rugby league fan, to go and see
Cherish
Ellery
it.
one last time.
Cherish it.
We got some young players the other day. Joe remembers we had a young player in. And I was saying to him about this, and I kept describing the way Ellery ran, and he said, who's Ellery? And I just said, please just watch Just watch 2 minutes.
Just watch the try against Featherstone.
We put it on, and he went, and I says, mate, this is our one. We should use him more. We should have more about him. I'm dying, and I said it last year. The Netflix of Ellery would be at Netflix out there. I don't know what it costs you to put something together, but if you look at Ellery's story and how it all turned out, he broke every record about being I think one of the youngest players ever. He captained England. Did he play a coach Great Britain? Or did he not play in that second Test match?
No, he played. He never coached them.
No, he coached Great Britain.
Sorry, yes.
And his assistant was Gary Etherington. You know that?
No. No, he did. His
assistant was Big G. But Ellery, and they got beat in first Test match. Google that, Sam. And they got beat, and all the fans in the country wanted Ellery at 32 just to take the chance. Until they said he's still the best. It was the year Mick he scored 40 odd for Leeds. So the crowd was saying, he's going to play, and I don't know whether he played himself.
94, I think that was.
And then, if you ever see, we talk about Morley, Ellis, Sam Burgess, Elliot Whitehead, John Bateman. Ellery first stint only played 9 games. They were third from the bottom of the NRL. He turned up at Balmain Tigers, which is now West Tigers. He took them to a grand final. The only reason they lost because of what, Mick? They broke his jaw in. They knocked him unconscious with a late elbow, and Benny Elias, one of the legends in Australia, said
they took him out of the game deliberately.
Yes, it's a famous thing. And Benny Elias said all we had to do was stick him up. He didn't have to play; he just had to walk around because he got us that good. He transformed the town, the franchise. They were paying 10,000, 5,000 Australian dollars just to sit in a room with him. That's how much he took over Australia. Wow. I think the local Sheila. I think the local Sheila's going to feel.
Right, we'll finish with some questions. Sean Myers, we've answered yours about how do you think Leigh would fare in Super League. Lewis Brunton says, Cornwall, you mentioned this, Joe, I'll let you answer it. Cornwall have been getting impressive crowds. The club seems to be doing everything right, and would be good to have a show focusing on the club and getting those involved in the club talking on the show. Well, we can certainly reach out to Cornwall.
Yeah.
It might be a bit difficult.
We could do a Zoom thing. Sam could organise a Zoom.
Well, the last time we had Eric on the show, remember, Eric turned it off and he felt a bit upset. So, Eric, we know you're a fan of the show. You're welcome to come on and tell us what, how it's going down there. Because
I think it's
result-wise, they've yet to get that first win, and they are conceding an average of 47 points a game. But the crowd.
He's an expert on Cornwall, Mick. He's going to tell you otherwise.
I know. They had another 4-figure crowd.
Yeah, they get. I think they get over 1,000 every game in League One at the bottom.
They love it down there.
At the bottom of League One. And I think we as a company have had quite a few players go down there. We've got Aaron Jones-Bishop, who's now signed for there. We've had Adam Jones, who played...
Harry Aronson has been there since the start.
Yeah. Didn't know. We've got Adam Jones. We've had Adam Ruslin there. Adam Ruslin's there currently signed on for the rest of the season, but he plays if Hull KR reserves have a game, that takes priority. Adam Jones played 2 games. Harry Aronson's been brilliant. Aaron Jones-Bishop is changing they love him. He gets nearly man of match last 2 games. They're talking about him, and I think it's. I speak to Neil Kelly. Not in a week or so, but quite often I was speaking to him a month or so ago, and they're all buzzing. They're all just excited for it. They've tried a few local lads. There's been some that have actually done well, some that haven't, but I think that's just the feeling out process of changing it to a completely new place. But they're buzzing. It's a lovely area. All the lads that go down there never have a bad word. We had all the Leeds lads that went down, Mackenzie Turner, Joe Hurd, Joe Gibbons.
Weekend of it, yeah.
Yeah, they've been down to ice there. They love it. There's not one player who's gone down that's had one bad word to say, and that's surprising because some of them who go down, there's quite a few that always have a moan on our side of it. Oh, really? I've got to go down to places and do this, do that. Not one moan. They've all loved it because they treat them excellent. They help with the petrol. They help out however
fly
they
them
can.
Fly them down. They fly them down on Fridays.
Like on the plane?
Yeah, they fly. Yeah, Harry flies down every game. Now Aaron Jones-Bishop's flying down.
Wow.
But I didn't know they flew. I know
two more lads want to go this weekend.
Here's one then. I'm going to look in the camera and Mr. Perez, so is he the owner of the club?
Yeah, Eric Perez is involved.
So Eric, you were all going to come on the show all them years ago. I think we won the biggest positive on Toronto. We were the one that had Toronto's back, didn't we, all the way through?
Yeah.
We're open invitation here for Cornwall for the Show Me Towers guys to come down and do a full commentary on the game. And we'd like to do a game day experience. We asked Toulouse to do this, and it's never happened.
Correct.
But if you want to let us come, we'll finance our own selves there, and we'll come. We'll have a night out afterwards, Mick. But I think we should do a Show Me special. We'll do this
In Cornwall, yeah.
at Cornwall on game day. We could do something, put us in a private room and let some fans come. They can understand a bit more about rugby. All we need as a payment, Eric, is 10 pints for Mick, 6 for Joe, 14 for me, and you're not allowed any.
Cornish pasties. 10 Cornish pasties for me.
10 Cornish pasty. And we're pretty much fooled with that, aren't we?
Yeah, they're brilliant. They just run it. They're giving it a good go. They're running it right, and I think the key that sometimes, obviously, that the Torontos and they might have not had is they've got patience. They're not one of them are saying, yeah, we need to spend this to win. They're actually, even for next year, they're looking at growing just a wonderful town that has never seen rugby league before.
We could go surfing in that morning. Can we do the full?
I believe you can.
If I can see Mick Leddell on it, what's it called? If we see the game caller on the old paddleboard, it'd be worth £1 million.
They do. They go on the beach.
Would Mick get in a wetsuit?
I think I had a couple of them go on the beaches and train on the beach. They did a training session on the beach of Cornwall.
And at the start of the year, they very much tried to do it. We'll do it all local, and we'll see what we can do. And they've had a bit of change of direction.
I said that, yeah. Well,
they
realised
they needed to get a few more in because they wanted to be more competitive than they were. And as a result, like Joe says, everyone who has the experience is enjoying it. A couple have really bought into it and are lining up, going and living down there next year.
Wow.
And being part of it, like Neil Kelly says, he's very proud that he's part of the start, and hopefully this is going to be a long-term thing, and they're trying to get other players to not think of it as just we're giving you a bit of game time, but do you want to be part of something? So in 30 years' time you can look back and say I was a pioneer. Yeah, we were getting beat by 50, but the week after it was 30, and by the second year we were actually competitive in some, half of the games.
I think with the way they treat players and the reputation they've already got, I'm laughing that all KR reserves know Adam Ruslin as the King of Cornwall because he comes back and goes, I love it, it's amazing, because he's known as the King of Cornwall. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, there's a new King of Cornwall in 3 weeks, Leddell, when he gets there.
I wouldn't be surprised if next year they're competitive because they have such a good reputation. They will attract some people. Attract some people.
Round of applause for Cornwall. Keep the good work up.
Emma's message, she says, how do you see Liam Finn getting on in charge at Dewsbury? Obviously,
has that been announced?
Yeah. Obviously, Paul Sykes was player, coach, interim. Liam, a lot of experience in the Championship. He's been at Halifax with Grixie. Obviously, over 150 appearances for Dewsbury, over 2 spells at the club. Again, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Liam Finn because, on his day, in my opinion, one of the best pound-per-pound halfbacks in the Championship. A lot of experience. How that transforms as a head coach, he's clearly got his coaching badges. He's been working hard for the last couple of years with the RFL. And then, like you say, was an appointed assistant coach to Simon Griggs at Halifax this year. Dewsbury, they're in a mess. Mark Sawyer will be the first person, so too Liam Finn, to admit that they're in a right mess. 2 wins from 15. That was a 4-pointer against London at home. They've lost that. They lost to London away. So that's 4 points. And no surprise that London's 2 wins this year have come against Dewsbury. That tells you pretty much where Dewsbury are as a side. I know Elliot Hall...
You said earlier on that can you quote this, or don't know if Mark... Do they spend the least in the division? You said they spend the least.
No, Workington spend the least, then it's Dewsbury.
Wow, there's not much in it.
There's not much in it. Wow. But again, if we're going to look at the Championship
table,
they are bottom, yeah.
Well, it's
so the where they should be. Because Pete Wood goes on to say, just over the half of the season during the Championship, who finishes in the top 6 compared with your original predictions, who's going in the right direction, who's not, and why? Well, I'll just quickly go through mine. Featherstone Leigh will be the top two either way.
We know they've got them out, can't we?
Yeah, we know they're going to play each other at Headingley in the Summer Bash.
Well done, Wayne Bennett.
So whoever wins that is obviously going to finish top. So Leigh top for mine, Featherstone second. You've then got, after Bradford's win over Sheffield, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Jimmy and Craig and Joe, but you've got York, Batley, Halifax, Barrow and Bradford, and that's it. So you've got 5 into 4, because the gap now between Sheffield on 14 points and Barrow on 19 is 3 games. Yes, a lot can happen, but I just cannot see Sheffield winning four more games than Barrow at this stage in the season.
The only thing you're missing out is Sheffield and Batley have got a game to play to catch up. If Sheffield lose that, it's looking tough.
No, I do agree, Jimmy.
If Batley win that, Batley are nailed on. If Sheffield win that, then they're still fighting.
Yeah, no,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But they've got the game in hand.
No, I know they do.
So
but what I'm trying to say is, based on what I've seen this year, I just feel, knowing that Sheffield have got Leigh up next, they've still got Featherstone. Look, I think it'll be 4 from 5, and it'll be Barrow, Batley, Bradford, Halifax or York that miss out. As things currently stand...
Sorry, you were saying Halifax or York will miss out before Bradford?
No. I'm saying, Craig, if we're saying Leigh and Featherstone are nailed on for the top 2, you've then got... No, it's a top 6, remember. You've then got 4 from 5. The 5 challenging are, from top to bottom, are York, Halifax, Batley, Barrow, Bradford. So what I'm trying to say is, one of those will miss out on the playoffs. Because
I think it's as simple as York, Batley and Halifax are in, I think.
Yeah.
And then it's a battle between, can Barrow keep going? Because with respect to Barrow, I keep thinking, they're going to run out of steam and we're not doing it. So I think it's Sheffield, Barrow and Bradford fight for the last spot.
So you think Batley nailed on, Halifax nailed on, York nailed on, the final spots between Bradford.
Yeah, I think
Bradford,
so.
Sheffield, Bradford
and Barrow. I think they'll fight out for that.
It's a fair point. I know where you're coming from, Craig. I know where you're coming from. But look,
I think a lot of it, it depends on Barrow. Barrow been up and down. That beat some of the best teams in the league, and they've lost to some shock. Barrow are costing the toy every week, whether they play well or not, and it's tough, innit? I think Bradford have got the capabilities to do it, Mick. You can never write them off, but I think injuries. I know that's the boring answer.
Well, I tell you what's an interesting. We can nearly enough finish off with this. Is the interesting one is, and I'll ask everybody the question. Bradford this week was struggling with players, and they bring in 2 Super League players, Corey Johnson and Alex Mellor. I know what both are on the cap because I do their deals. Yeah. So let's say you can bring an extra. I can't say it, but an extra so much on the cap within 48 hours. I'm saying on Tuesday, bump, need them, bang. Mm-hmm. Is it pride that Sheffield, I'm not using Sheffield, but historically Sheffield, historically Barrow, historically Batley, historically York probably do use a few when needed, but not a lot. Fordy's always, he'd like to play his own, unless it's the kid he gets for the year. But Bradford tactically this week, they could have been the difference in getting you 2 points. So look at it.
It literally was.
You look at it now, and do you go, Mick? Do you, if you own one of them 5 clubs, you can bring 100,000+ on the cap within 48 hours.
Answer you this.
Why? You have to be from Sheffield.
Why Jimmy, was answer you for the other clubs as well.
Right. Well, then why doesn't the other clubs have got stronger squads and they don't need it than Bradford? Would you say yours?
No, it's not that.
No. Well, then.
Well, Sheffield and Barrow both have now got a link with the club.
But they don't use it, do they?
It's not for lack of trying.
Yeah.
So Bradford's agreement with Leeds, for whatever reason, is very strong. They could go.
I said.
Let me finish this a little bit. But so they could go, and Dunning could line it up and go, that Sheffield game, we're going to be flagging a bit. We need bang, bang, bang. Sheffield's relationship with Wakefield is not quite the same. Mark's worked hard to try and get it going, but with Wakefield, they've got other priorities and trying to get more money in for the players that aren't playing.
Correct. Sam Essay to Featherstone.
Exactly. So even Wakefield have a relationship with Sheffield, if the club comes in and says, well, we'll give you money for him, then they'll get that player.
Well, don't take one of them.
That's what happened with Sam.
Barrow
That's
have
what
a
happened with Sam
relationship
Esse.
with Salford, and they've got players from them. But again, it's not as easy. What Bradford have got with Leeds, as proved on Sunday, is the difference of 2 points.
And this is what I said.
I would have thought Leeds would be helping Bradford.
Do you remember?
Leeds could get Bradford into the playoffs.
Do you remember me about a month back saying how special that relationship was between Mark Dunning and Rowan Smith? I said it on this show.
It's been going on before.
I know.
It's been going on.
I said Nigel and Gary's a strong one.
I would say that's where it
No,
must be
Nigel
at.
and Gary
That's
is very
20-year
strong.
friendship.
Yeah.
I was at Huddersfield. On Friday night, and you see Nigel and Gary and Ralph, and they're all there. And I think someone said to me, "It's like a scene out of Last of the Summer Wine," and I had to chuckle about it. But you know, you see Nigel, he's good friends with Ralph, he's good friends with Gary. I agree. But more importantly, because Mark was Rowan's assistant at the Bulls and they were all in the same office at Tong, that counts for something
That
in my view.
strengthened
Yeah, but let me
That
say this.
strengthens
Yeah,
it.
let me-
I asked Rowan on Friday a very direct question, and I said to Rowan, I said, should Mark Dunning be given the job? And he said yes.
Right, okay, but let me
Clearly,
forget about making this
clearly.
about Bradford.
No, we're not
I'm on
making it about Bradford.
I'm on about these 6 teams you've made the comment about. If it comes down to these teams bringing in players, forget about Leigh. They're not going to bring no one in. They've got a better squad base.
Yeah, forget the top.
So the 4 or 5 teams you're on about, will Batley bring players in if they need be?
I don't know who Batley link up with.
No,
I don't think
there's
they could
no
be anybody.
evidence.
That's the answer.
There's no
I
evidence.
spoke to Craig Lingard in a pre-season, and he said no one will touch us because
Right, there you go.
we are little old Batley.
There you go.
His words.
Will Bradford bring players in if needed?
100%.
100%.
Joe?
Oh, yeah, that's,
Will Barra bring players in if needed?
they'll try.
They will try.
but
They will try,
not to
but
the same
it'll
effect.
come down to finances.
Of them paying the clubs, but
Yes.
Barra have got a few quid on
Yeah,
them.
Barrow will pay that. I
Yes,
think it's more getting the-
Steve Neal quite happily will pay. I know Steve really well. The problem, like Steve Neal has said, is because Salford are so hit and miss, they're still 10 points, they're in that relegation battle.
Right, yeah.
The chance of getting those players that would have been available if they were a bit more comfortable up the table is probably going to hinder Barrow with that dual reg
Will
link.
York?
Yes, we know York can go sniffing
50-50.
around. Hull FC, Hull KR. We know York will.
But
Well,
historically,
let's see
Ford,
what
he
they
don't push it. You know, I can only tell you, I know
Yeah.
that better than anybody.
I don't think they'll get many in, will they? Maybe one more.
I don't think James Ford will admit they need any in.
Will Halifax?
Yes, we've
Yes.
seen with Oliver Roberts and Huddersfield,
yeah,
yeah.
they'll bring Huddersfield
Yeah.
players in.
So in it weird going into it,
look.
right? Let me finish here. So we go into this next 8 week, and all the teams that are clear, say KR are clear, they're clear.
Yeah.
You might not be in playoffs. Like I said, there's 3 clubs that not in playoffs, not in relegation, or 4. You'd be targeting their players if you're not winning playoffs, saying, right, we've got to get in with one of these clubs, so we're going to finish out of playoffs and not in relegation. And it could decide the season. It's not the club's players that could decide it. It could
Then
be
you've got
bang
Dewsbury,
on.
who hardly bring in any Hull KR players. So if someone has the answer to that one,
Well, I've asked, to be honest with you, I put this out to Mark. I have said to Mark loads of times, can I help you? And I think I could easily make one phone call and sort all that. Not at just okay. I'm saying we can. People said to agents help the loan deals. Historically, we do the loan deals. Historically, clubs are not brilliant at doing loan deals because they're
I think agents
they're
have
too
done
busy.
all of Hull
It's
KRs,
usually
yeah.
no, forget about agents. Okay, sorry. Historically, the agents are the ones who ask the question either way and do what the work make. But isn't it funny that
It's
could be
bang-
determined?
bang on.
Nigel Wood's relationship with Gary Etherington could be the difference in getting that top six.
Totally nailed it. I think I would put
Crazy, innit?
Bradford would be for that reason, especially like you say, Leeds are probably going to be the ultimate team.
We're
but
We're
I'm
out
not
of
gonna-
it. Dale Leeds to cross.
Leeds are going to get in the playoffs.
Hey, Gledell's been on that south stand, nailing it to the cross. Now it's Uncle Gary.
Uncle Gary
No,
Samuels.
look. Jimmy, we saw Alex Miller, we saw Corey Johnson. You know, we don't want to be too disrespectful to some of the other Bradford players, but you take them out of that side, along with Brandon Pickersgill, who played 50%
And it's a
of
coin,
the
it's
game.
a coin toss.
It's a more of a contest, yeah.
So looking at that the other way, before we finish, is you look at Featherstone. Are Featherstone's only chance of matching Leigh at the moment to bring in 3 massive players from within the club at...
Mark Campbell's going to have to spend money. Fact.
No, I'm saying, but would you know this middle what we're on about?
Yeah.
That Super League, he might know that let's say...
Can he get Tatavano? Can he get Tatavano for again?
Could he get 2 or 3? What's the...
Big Mick turns
No, it was the other winger at the other side who hadn't played very well a lot for Leeds.
What, Fussitua?
Oh, Fussitua.
Yeah.
They won't give... Fussitua's been starting.
He'll have to play, won't he?
Yeah.
It's more Liam Tyndall. Would they get Tyndall in and would they get...
Yeah, but Liam, no offence to Liam Tyndall,
Depends how
he's played a
strong
couple of games for
relationship
Bradford this year, and he helped Bradford beat Batley, did Liam Tyndall, with his try. But is Liam Tyndall better than a Luke Briscoe or a Gareth Gale? I don't think he is. So I don't think the need.
I'd question that.
Yeah, I disagree with that. But would...
Sorry, Liam.
But it's great, isn't it, when you think then, so is a message to everybody who's supporting them clubs is, if your directors get on the phone and they start working... And
I don't think there is any... Who could stop that Leeds team? Which players
no, but
would be available?
Listen, at least you'll have a go if Featherstone went... Let's say Featherstone went... So I know a player at, let's say, Hull FC, who I know is not playing next year. Right? And if Hull FC don't get in the top 6, which they are at the moment, they might go, listen, get him off our books now. There'll be 5 players at each club that'll be allowed to go off the books because they're not signing them next year. I can tell you, I can't say it publicly.
But would they be game changers in...
Yeah. At least, I know at least 2 would be game. They'd have a go. I'm not saying that, but you could certainly do it.
You'd make it even money again.
Oh, yeah, you'd even it up a little bit. Yeah, you'd definitely even it up.
It would need a lot. It would need...
I don't think he does. It just needs...
I mean, you'd feel devastated, wouldn't you? Because them lads who've got Featherstone there, if they went, see you later, boys.
But look, when Featherstone got to the £1 million game in 2019 against Toronto... Callum McClellan, Alex Sutcliffe... So look, I know you're trying to...
We think you're 160 on the cap in that fight from Leeds.
Listen, look, I know you're trying to have a little bit of a joke about Bradford bringing in Mellor
I don't think it's brilliant.
Johnson.
I don't mind it, if that's the rules.
And you've got both players, Craig, and like I say, Rowan said to me on Friday, Alex is going to Bradford because he needs 80 minutes because he's had his sternum injury. Rowan, before he makes a decision on his contract for next year, he needs to see Alex Sutcliffe do 80 minutes. So Rowan will be studying his performance. And
Alex Sutcliffe?
Alex Mellor, he'll be watching the tape and he'll be looking at that, and that like you say, would. But like I say, Craig, it's not like tons and tons of players are coming to Bradford. Not like the Featherstone, like you say, when you've got your Harry Newman, you've got your Sutcliffe, you've got your Callum McClellans.
But you just said that Tyndall won the game for you against Batley. That was a 4-pointer for playoffs, and they've just won the game at the weekend. So it is massive.
I agree, Jimmy. I agree with what you're saying.
And if you want for Tom Allroy, let him the old pitchforks go. It'd have been you'd have had one of the top young props in the world at your disposal. And you're right, the relationship, if that's strong, God, you think about Barra there. They carry a small squad. They've probably got a squad of 22, I bet you, Barry. I see their team. I might be wrong, lads might say I'm wrong. But I bet they probably need to do business now to at least have 2 away from that one phone call. So if let's say Jared Gus, who's a pivotal thing in what they do, have they got an half-back, $100,000 somewhere who's going to come in and secure them? That's what they need to be looking at. I don't mean a young lad, because that young lad's too much pressure in. We've got lads like Rusden and that, you couldn't put them in that, it'd be too much, but you're going to need, like I said, and you look at, let's have a look at a club there who's just above relegation in Super League. Let's say above relegation, or we're out of it. Have we got a club or we're out of it?
Ulkinson Rovers.
Or we're not in the playoffs, so don't think you're getting playoffs.
No.
They're fighting for playoffs.
Leeds and Warrington. But you could
Warrington, there'll be 6 or 7 who are not signing next year, and go get them.
Exactly, and at the same time, you could argue Leeds are still in with a chance of the playoffs. They're only 3 points behind Castleford.
Yeah, it's still a bit early.
The problem with Leeds is, like I said at the start of the show, that sort of pizzazz, flair, flamboyance. Rowan is very, very, very much like Justin Holbrook, wants to throw it around and have Daniel Anderson at Saints in 06 throwing it around with gay abandon. And as we saw on Friday, yes, they scored a couple of great tries with Ash Handley going in at the corner, but they also conceded a couple of tries.
He'll rein it in, though.
It's a transition. It's a transition.
Because if you watch NRL, obviously,
I know what the Leeds fans will say, Joe.
NRL.
They want the Leeds that played Warrington where the passes stick. They don't want the Friday night where it's on the floor and getting picked up.
What Joe's going to say there, you say it, but I would say I've sat with Rowan and he wants to make people, he wants his ass to run, he wants his players to run. I think what we said earlier on is he's going to need to be judged on his own players doing that. Some of them players at Leeds, you can't play a running game with Richie Myler. That's not what to do against Richie. Richie's 34-year-old. Richie's a support player and he's a passer, but he's not going to be running ball at contact every time he gets it. Impossible. He's not going to have the... You've probably got Austin who could do that because that's probably his strength. Caesar, forget about that. He's not running ball every time he gets it.
No.
So you've got Cruz who can do it, certainly. Yeah. But then you go out and you think, how many have they got strike centres who can do it? Harry's a runner, a yardage runner. He's not really a runner in attack. He's not the Callum that boom all over. He's more of a... He'll certainly do the yardage, but he don't want to one-square people up. If you look at Harry, a lot of his, when he comes across the line and he'll try and get that half cap. Sutty's not really a runner. He's more of a half-back turned into a centre. So he's got a lot of players in there who might not be... They haven't got Cuthbertson no more. When Leeds historically played that way, he said it the other day, Jack Walker on the thing, he said we had Cuthbertson and who did he say? Jamie Jones Buchanan. Yeah. He said who just were popping ball out anytime they could. I don't think that Leeds have got anywhere near.
Yeah, he'll have to get his own players in. If you watch Leeds from... I had a meeting with actually Reece Grove last week and he'd give me a bit of the history on the new style of NRL, and if you watch NRL...
How the ball just pops out and you've got your...
Yeah, side to side, it's all about running, you know what I mean? Apart from Cam Munster, there's probably second best. Dad taught me this second best halfback in the world is probably that Jerome Luai. Panthers now, he's probably took over Cleary. Cleary's a better systematic one, but the NRL style is having one maybe Cleary, but the rest all just runners. Luai just runs, attacks. I use the word probe. They just probe, side to side, and they tire them out that way by making them move side to side.
Leeds are going to need to do that system. The system when it works with it, you need at least two strike players who can just go. Bobby Alatiti at 21.
But they're at the cap, Craig. So like you say, they're going to have to move some.
I don't know how that's going to work then because they ain't got no edge strike like they did have.
Yeah.
They certainly ain't got. And if you look at it, I was thinking about this day. You remember a player probably didn't get no credit at Leeds, and I thought today about when they won 2 or 3 grand finals. Joel Moon.
Awesome.
Mooney, probably underrated by, not going to say us all, but historically, I've never go down as a player. People say, the Leeds legends. Yeah. I never heard anybody mention Joel, but actually, Joel come in at a time when we didn't really have a...
We're dipping again, weren't we?
Yeah, he was a left centre.
Only attacking.
He was the attacking threat, get ball to Mooney in space. Yeah. It were all... And the reason he went to Leeds, Mick, is he scored 2 against Leeds with Salford, and they couldn't believe it. So I think they probably need a few more... that type of players to play Rowan's system. I can't see how they can unless they get, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But going back, got a bit off there. The only issue we have, or certainly I have, with this idea of let's get them all in, is the knock-on effect for those lads who've been working the balls off all year who get dropped, and that's why I think there is at Barrow. I think there's probably a bit more resistance because they are such a tight community and such a good group of friends that they don't want to see their teammate dropped for a lad from Salford waltzing in.
How do you feel about that, Mick? If Tyndall comes in and
if
takes
it's for injury,
Dave Foggins' place, how do you feel as a supporter?
If it's for injuries, brilliant.
No, when it's to replace them,
it's a really tricky one.
Does it bother you, Mick? I'm being honest here,
it is a tricky one, and it does bother me because I've seen what Brian McDermott's done at Featherstone this year, destabilising his team. You speak to your players who are no longer playing at Fev, who have been dropped and are going out to other clubs, and that sort of harmonious.
That's not for a dual Reg player.
No,
gone off the thing there.
Well, no, but it's very similar, isn't it? It is. It's similar in the sense.
Chisholm,
no. Hear me out. Hear me out. It's very similar, Craig, and I'll tell you why it's very similar. Because Brandon Pickersgill was at fullback. Yeah. You brought in Matt Corrala. So
for the season.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Foggin Johnson, and you're saying Liam Tyndall's better, so you're bringing in Tyndall to replace Foggin Johnson.
No.
You've
just put.
I'm not saying
Tyndall's better than Dave Foggin. I'm saying to you, when you do this, it's for a 2-week period because you're going to bring them back. So
this is
the wrong argument. Yeah. You're on about. A back rower.
Yes, it's harsh. It's harsh.
A week, yeah.
For 2 weeks, being told off. Alex Miller's playing for 2 weeks, and what's your back rower called?
Brad was injured, but...
Let's say he says to Brad...
Yeah, Brad England's out injured.
But let's just say he says to Brad, it's been great, Brad. he's more effective for us. It's a big game.
Yeah.
How do you feel it's supporter for Brad, or do you just say result counts? That's it.
No, you've got to feel for him. But what I would say is there's no room for sentiment in business, and it's happened time and time again. Look at Brian Noble in 05. Adrian Morley come in. No place for Andy Lynch.
Perfect.
Heartbreaking for Andy Lynch. You know...
His last game, when he was last...
Well, second, yeah. But it's like, you know, that was Andy Lynch's grand final. That was Andy Lynch. You know, his chance, you know, to lift some silverware, and Adrian Morley comes in. But it's happened... There's countless examples, Craig.
And it goes full circle about, because Bradford has been proved this year they are more than happy to go on the Thursday. Very sorry, mate, but we've just heard from Leeds. They don't need him. He's in, without even thinking about it. Now, at Dewsbury, they've got a different approach. Let me finish this before you get into this. Before you wind you up.
The players.
At Dewsbury, they have been very resistant to go, well, we will take this youngster from Hull KR and put him in for a week, then he might get called back, I piss him off. He's been very more aware of the negative effects it can have when it can only be 1 or 2 weeks.
Correct.
And that's all down to the coach and their ethics, if you like, of how they want to treat the lads who've been there through pre-season, 2 nights a week, travelling, not seeing the kids. It comes down to your approach, doesn't it? If I were a coach, I'd be really struggling to just drop someone in. But then again, if your job's on it, where do you draw the line?
No, I agree,
It's
Jimmy.
a bit more evil.
I agree, Jimmy.
More
I
evil.
won't name the Bradford players, but similar to the Featherstone players who reach out to me and say they're pissed off with Brian McDermott and what's going on at Featherstone, certain Bradford players under John Keir, they were the same, have been dropped because these players from Leeds have come in. Yeah. And it's human nature. I understand it. You're going to be disappointed if you're told, if JK says to you on the Thursday, look, we've got a Tumble Ride, we've got a Moses Mustafa coming in. You know, sadly, you know, you're having a week off.
And this becomes a big thing for us now, because when we look to take a player for a meeting about where they might be next year in the Championship, you used to be able to go, well, this is who they've got signed on. Do you fancy you can take him out? Yeah, I do. Brilliant. Let's go for it. Now, you can't do that, because I can go to Brad England next year. I'm not bothered about him or you. No. But we don't know which back rowers are going to drop in from Leeds. So it's very hard to plan where is a good place for a player to go, because you don't know.
No, it's a very valid point.
I do agree.
Point of the show there, Jimmy. Point of the show.
I don't know about that, but inevitably,
it's a very pertinent point.
I get it. Inevitably, though, it comes down to your personal values. I agree with that, but it comes down to what you said. It's business. And secondly, I'll put this to Joe. If you're a player, and that can decide whether you get playing to playoffs or into Super League, your personal pride's obviously everything, but this is how I do it. Is if you come and you've got a world-class player to come to Bradford, I don't feel guilty at all, I'll be honest with you. And even if it's a player, I'm going to take it. Now, if you bring somebody I think I'm better than, you're going to get some, whether you get coach or not. I'm going to say, you are joking, I'm better than him. But if you bring me Danny Maguire and I'm the 60 and say, we need Danny for 2 weeks, I'd be like, no problem, son. I'd be shining the boots and I would not even, and honestly, and I'm telling this, that's me being honest, and even as the coach, Mick, depending on the player, I don't think I'd be all right. But if it was, God, that must be a nightmare if you think you're better than them. That must be heartbreaking for the players, the squad, even the fans must think, well, this is ridiculous. And there's a pressure. We'll reverse what Jimmy said. This will probably be the best point of the day. Is you imagine a dual reg player when they go, like Cameron Smith did and Mick, and they get booed off of your fans because they think the worst of your players. So don't just think the pressure's one way. How many times have we sent a dual reg player that way and they've gone, I've had a fucking nightmare, I've been... So it's a terrible situation sometimes for both. I know, we were talking to Davey Litton yesterday, I goes to Davey, how's it going? He goes, well, Joe said, he's the king of...
Whitehaven.
He said they love him. They do. They love him.
He said he's like this thing, and Dave. I goes to Dave. He goes, yeah, it's funny, and he's absolutely. That's when it works. Now we have probably 20-30% of players have a shocking experience of going because, like you said, it might not be that they're any better than what they're replacing.
And they're not welcomed.
They're not welcoming, and you don't feel you're any better than what they've.
And Davey was perfect because Whitehaven needed players. Bradford. I know you keep mentioning Fev, but we can't get away from this point, have done it way more than everyone else. And they have done it when players who were senior players and signed as a starting player have been fit.
Correct.
It's not that.
There's a couple of Jimmy's players here, I can feel it. Just looking at
Yeah, I
it,
know,
thinking,
and
yeah,
obviously
that
Brad
one,
England's won.
He
I know
was
fucking Johnson.
injured.
I know fucking Johnson. I know fucking Johnson's
Yeah,
won.
he's had it a couple of times with our players.
Well,
with Tyndall at
the
start
Batley
of the year,
game, for instance. No, but for instance, with the Batley game, fucking Johnson was suspended because of his red card against Leigh, so that's why Tyndall was in for the Batley game. You know, but no, I understand where you're coming from.
You know, for all of our
Are we
players,
now saying the enemy of 45 years, the biggest derby in world rugby is now
best
together?
friends?
Is this true?
Bradford Rhinos, we're calling him.
Do you know what? Do you know what weird though? There is. I'm going to throw this back. Why would Leeds not get Bradford's
Exactly.
best ever recruits then? Historically, Huddersfield get their.
Well, Gary don't want to pay. Simple, isn't it?
Good answer.
Richard will. Listen, we've all
answer,
been.
good answer, that,
Leeds
innit?
don't want to pay. Leeds don't want to pay.
Because if you think about it,
Huddersfield were the only ones who wanted to pay the six figures
Leeds
for
have been
Oliver
crying
Wilson.
out for Oliver Wilson, Truman,
Correct.
and you'd be like,
100%.
oh, well, even Stozza. You look at what Stozza's done. You're looking and you're thinking, he OKR's best player I ain't other than
Exactly,
right
and you know, similar to the Eben Sker situation last year, as you were speaking to St Helens, Hull FC, I was getting phone calls. You know, Michael Carter phoned me up. He says, "What is he worth this money?" What Craig's saying. You know,
Thanks, man.
no, but look. Let's not beat about the bush. At this moment in time, Bradford was still having to pay.
Wait a minute, Michael Carter asked you whether I got it right.
No.
The best ID man in the UK, the third best
Hear
in the
me
world.
out. Hear me out. The phone call was along the lines of, "This is what we are being told he is worth getting from Bradford from. Is he as good as Craig and everyone is saying he is good?" And I just nailed my colours to the mast and I said, "Look, Eben Sker has the potential to be another Oliver Wilson. He does. Fact. No if, buts, qualms about it." But like I say, obviously Wakefield didn't want to pay. We know St Helens didn't want to pay. Hull didn't want to pay. And here we are. Whereas Huddersfield, and fair play, you know, I spoke to Richard Fulis on Friday night, you know, and you know the correct figure. I know it's 6 figures. You know, a record for any young British prop at 18. Credit to Richard Fulis, you know, because, like I say, Oliver Wilson, he could play for another 10, 12, 13 years. And he's, you know...
Owen Trout's doing well now.
I know.
Do you know what the thing is about that is? When you go from Leeds to Bradford, do you think Leeds are charging Bradford? I'm not allowed to say out. I don't know if that's...
Oh no, I think that's all
Because when you think about that,
it's allowed,
you'd have thought if I'm getting... Let's say they're not charging, and it's Gary's way of doing a favour tonight, or whatever, friendship. You would think it's Rowan. So they get freebie.
No, Craig.
They get freebie 120 grand on the cap, right? Surely that works back to back when Bradford have got to play it. They can't say, well, thanks for that, Leeds. He's going to go to St Helens. We're not going to... Surely that's paying you...
And I think...
Do you think that's happening?
I think that is going to happen, yes.
Right.
I think that's going to happen.
It's a bigger picture.
And yes, it's no secret in the sport of rugby league that Nigel Wood and Gary Everington are very close, very good friends, that same sort of ideology and philosophy. Like when Nigel was at the RFL, you're not saying for 3-4 minutes, some of the rules and stuff that come in would have been filtering in from Gary and other people. But again, just to final point on this, Craig, I still stand by that close-knit relationship between Rowan Smith and Mark Dunning, because it's all good, Nigel and Gary, you know, being as thick as thieves and going for curries and going to the pub and going watching Huddersfield versus Leeds and, you know, basically being at each other's clubs. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. You know, the rugby league men, the rugby league aficionados. But if Gary's saying to Rowan, right, you're sending these to Bradford, and Rowan's like, no. But the fact you've got Rowan, who worked with Mark for a number of years at Bradford...
More reason to give Mark Dunning the job.
No, but the fact you've got Rowan and Mark and that close relationship, and I asked Rowan about this on Friday, and I've asked Mark about it, and Mark, it's all there out there in the public domain on Bulls TV, in the interviews, that relationship shines through. And yes, I know we've kind of like done this to death a little bit too much, but, you know, that could be the key for Bradford getting in ahead of a Halifax, a Batley or a Barrow in them playoffs at the end of the season.
Leeds Bulls.
Yeah.
Bradford Rhinos.
You can go on about it as much as you want, you know, the facts are there.
We will.
But look, it's coming towards the end.
I guess where it don't work is Newcastle, isn't it? Newcastle have done that a lot with
Wigan.
With Wigan, yeah.
Wigan,
They've had Sam Holsall up there.
They've had Matty Nicholson,
yeah,
they've had
exactly.
half-back, they had Riley Dean Warrington this week playing, didn't he?
Yeah.
But that's the thing with
Played last
Newcastle,
2
you know, Newcastle will pay that money, and like you said, Craig, you know, I don't get why.
Can't have been that successful.
That's what I mean.
No,
I guess it does work sometimes and doesn't.
I suppose if you're getting that young end of player...
I don't think they've all played well for them as well.
No, I'm saying if you're getting a young end of player, I suppose getting Alex Mellor, he's a 28-year-old ex-England Knights, you are getting the boom, aren't you? There's no gambling. No. I suppose if Newcastle, and I said this at the start of the year, if you said to Wigan, squad number 15 to 21, historically might be 28. You are going to Newcastle 10 times this year, or Barra 10 times this year. That conversation needs to be had. What I find, in my experience, the coaches dare have them conversations.
And what I will say is, listen, let us know in the comments. Are you ashamed as a fan if knowing it's Bradford versus Halifax at the Share, and you're getting a Muzziz Mustafa and Alex Mellor, a Corey Johnson, and those players help you beat Halifax and basically guarantee you in the playoffs? Is there any shame in that? Because I don't want to keep going about 2019 and Featherstone, but you know, they got a lot of stake. We put the boot in a couple of times on this show. You know, ultimately the players aren't getting picked at Leeds. Where else are they going to go? Obviously they're too strong for the reserves. The Championship, let's be brutally honest, is a far more quality product in terms of their development as players than the reserve competition, which is still very much being neglected and haphazard by the clubs. So I don't think there's any shame in it.
I suppose as well, doesn't it seem that if you're a part of it, so say if Corey ends up playing 10 times for Bradford in a year, I think he'll feel part of their getting playoffs. I think if you played 2 games as a player, you'd feel a bit of a fraud. I think that's the bit I'd be uncomfortable with. And if I were a fan, but like, did we use that one player for one game to get that one result? I'd find that really difficult.
I guess like Adam Ruslan at Cornwall, if Adam Ruslan gets a win at Cornwall and they go on to do good things,
David Litton at Whitehaven.
We'll take it. But I feel they're part of it, so that's the answer to that question.
Yeah.
If you just bring one player in, drop 2 back rowers, Alex Mellor plays one game, you get the result and you go, that'd be very hard to handle in a pub conversation with your mates.
Well, and I think that's why it was always season-long loans are brilliant for that, and it used to be a month. They brought in this 2-weeker because of COVID, and that's what's caused a lot of issues because they can be in and out. And with the international break, it was just a one-off.
Correct.
So that Alex Mellor is an extreme situation. Should the minimum loan go back to 4 weeks, so at least it's a month, and a coach can go, I can invest time in him and I can try and improve him in 4 weeks and have a bit of it, and they will be part of the team.
I
2 weeks needs to go.
I heard after the game that Mick was sitting with Alex's back saying thank you for what you've done for us beating Sheffield probably because he playoffs, and he was patting him on the back, and that's all I heard.
Let's get it right.
There's no pride and no thoughts in this.
Thanks
for the job on Sheffield, kid.
No. Let's get it right. I'm a good close friend of Alex,
and he's from Bradford.
And I've not seen him. The last time I interviewed him actually in a Bradford shirt was Whitehaven away, which was 2 games before he obviously left the club, and I was heartbroken, as any Bradford fan would be. So it was just good to catch up with him personally and ask him a few questions. In fact, I'm going to put the interview out.
He went on his field and all.
I'll put the interview out. I'll put the interview out later today so people can have a listen to it. It's only 3 or 4 minutes long, but you know, there's a bit of pain there from Alex because he has been out for 8 weeks, I think, and he's not been, you know, he's had injuries and he's obviously...
Alex will be all right.
well, yeah, we know. My lips are sealed. My lips.
But yeah, actually, we've just done that thing, and there's a guy who copies that bit and then says, forget about that.
Yeah, do it every time.
We'll all be eating shit.
But look,
show me
look. Alex Mellor to Bradford, the players that have got to Barrow, Oliver Roberts to Halifax. Look, it's going to be done.
Listen, we've run over. Quickly, Joe, Jimmy, or you can finish off. We never give a mention to this club, only sporadically. I don't watch a lot of this because I'm that busy. Joe said to me in the week, Dad, one club are going to come into Championship and shock the world. Jimmy said it to him on the boat.
Keighley Cougars.
Keighley Cougars deserve absolute massive raps. By the sound of it, they're not coming into Championship to be also runs. They're coming in
to be in the top 7 to get into Super League, yeah.
We've heard they've already got tied up with the Super League club, close to Leeds Rhinos, and they're going to take... No. So we've heard, but they really mean business, don't they?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
He's mentioned a player, and I said, he goes, no, they'll pay the wage for the player, and I'm like, hey.
Mick Neal and the rest of the Keighley directors, they are pumping in because they're confident, and I think you mentioned it on the phone to me, Jimmy. The 4 points clear at the top, they're going up, they're going to win promotion, Keighley. In fact, you don't bring in Dane Chisholm, you don't bring in those kind of players to be in the playoffs. So Keighley, for mine, foregone conclusion, even at this stage, they will win automatic promotion. The 2 10s are coming, 2 12s. Keighley, no. They have this is last chance saloon for Keighley.
Spend 600 grand here.
Yeah. This is the thing. I
think they will do. They will do.
Craig, it's last chance saloon for Keighley as a club. They feel if they're cut adrift in an unfunded third division, there's no future for them. They're going to go all guns blazing next year, as you know, as Jimmy will testify, and quite rightly so. You know, if you're a League One club coming up, this is the last roll of the dice, because if you remain in an unfunded division and you don't get the riches of what's going to come from Super League B, which is what Keighley will have aspirations of going in.
Cornwall are going to have to do. Maybe London are going to have to do the moments.
Bradford.
It won't be as bad as you think.
No, but for instance, a Bradford, an Halifax, a York, a Newcastle, realistically, Craig,
there'll be a couple.
They can only go for Super League B. They're not going to get the Super League A. So next year, you know, Newcastle are going to spend a hell of a lot. Well, I know. Reason why probably Bradford might stick with Mark Dunning for the remainder of the year would be to see if Mark is suitable and give him a fair crack, but also, you know, not spend unnecessary money bringing in a coach when that money can be spent on the squad.
If he gets 90% and they use him for that, and then they get somebody else, you'd be taking the walls of China.
Listen, my relationship with Nigel Wood might become untenable because I'd voice my opinion if that was to happen against Mark Dunning, but.
They don't want the wrath of Gledon. It comes with 3,000 Bradford.
But, you know, I spoke to the Keighley guys at half-time in the Featherstone-Bradford game last Monday, and they can smell blood in the water. They're actually looking and thinking, well, if we spend this, you know, we can match a Bradford, we can match a York, we can match an Halifax.
The Bradford Keighley derby then next year. Could that be a 5,000 gate?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. There were 4.5.
Wow.
When it was played in 2018, there was 4,000 there at Cougar Park. Fantastic. We streamed it on proper sport. In fact, I don't know if you know this, Sam, our producer, will vouch for me. They actually got a cherry picker crane with the cameras on and had to wear an harness. Because they were afraid I'd fall off. They were afraid I'd fall off of this crane in Sky.
Well, one of them that used to take on fish boat. I'm laughing because I'm trying to lose weight.
Listen. In the coming months, you're going to see a slimmer me. Anyway, I'm trying my best.
Yeah. No, that don't need.
No. I'm making some healthy lifestyle choices instead of.
I'm on no carbs, Mick.
Well, I don't know about the no carbs for me, but instead of the lagers and the fatty beers, I'm going to be on the vodka and the gin, and the fresh orange juice.
Brilliant.
The only one little thing, Keighley, you know, odds on again a bit like the Leigh and Fev, but Swinton over Featherstone. You know, Swinton can't be written off. They're going to make it tough for Keighley. They'll push them all the way. Even though Keighley are going a bit bigger.
Have we got bigger odds than Leigh? Is it 1-4, 1-6?
It's similar.
I'd say it's miles more favourite Keighley.
Yeah, no,
I can't.
They're not under Lacey control.
It's all right.
10 games in.
Research, lads.
No. Well,
there's no way.
10 games.
Listen,
I'm not looking at the table, by the way, but I just know 10 games in. Keighley are undefeated. Swinton have lost two.
Big favourites.
Swinton had a very good performance. Swinton had a very good performance against Rochdale on Sunday evening. I'll give you that.
They'll be the ones who push them. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think they're getting. I'll put my neck on the line. I don't think they're even getting pushed in League One. I don't think it's even.
Saints, Leigh,
Swinton might go.
Keighley. Is that the clever money?
Saints, Leigh, Keighley treble won't get you 2-1.
On that note,
well, listen, look, thank you very much for joining us, Jimmy, as always. I'll just mention again, Dan, your Twitter handle @thestone5. Congratulations,
Dan. We're going to sign England. Shane, please. We'll try and get it. I don't know when we can get it for Mick.
Well, Dan, you watch the show, so you need to message on Twitter, the Show Me The Money Twitter account. That'll be Joe. Joe will liaise with you, and we will get it for you. Probably actually after this weekend's game, if you can get them to sign it.
I'm thinking there, I'll try Shane today.
Yeah. So, you know, as always, keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep supporting us. You know, the full 80 minutes on Show Me The Money Rugby League TV. We're on YouTube only. At some point, you know, producer Sam made it. Maybe do a legacy show where we go out on Facebook and have some live comments.
I think the Cornwall gig, I really fancy
maybe put that out on Facebook.
To travel up and do a proper live audience.
No, I agree. So Eric, we know you like to dip your toes and watch the show. That's the offer. We'll come down
Road to 1,000. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting closer. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Get them to subscribe. Let's get that 1,000 mark, and then I think it will get going from there. But let's hit that 1,000 mark. So share it with your mates. Share it with your thing. Let's try it 1,000 by the end of this week, going on to next week, and then we'll be rocking.
So don't forget, final word: England against the All Stars. Sean against Ellery, Saturday evening. Let's see what happens. We'll review it next week. So from myself, Joe, Craig and Jimmy, enjoy Rugby League and keep it. #positive Rugby League. Bye.
I got called to be 18th man on that Monday. Just running out and warming up in front of the crowd, and that it was like the best feeling ever. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I think just at that point, like, I don't think my confidence could have got any higher. And then I had to take bone out of my heel, put it into the middle of my foot where the joint was, put a plate on top, and then they fused my foot together. So that was another 8 months.